Right. All right. We are live with another episode of the SydeBoob Podcast, and it worked this time.
Yeah, finally. I know
No
I'm not on
issues.
the phone and everything now.
Yeah, right. Like, you can use your hands and you can emote properly.
Yeah, that was funny
Me,
though last time. Like my hand was actually killing, so I was just using my left arm like that the whole time.
just like a little mini workout.
It was.
Oh man. So anyway, how you been, man? Haven't talked to you this week really a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah, I've been all right. Just been working out and chilling out. Well, not working out, working and chilling out. Yeah.
What have
How
you
about
been?
you?
What have you been working on? Have you done any
Not
any
much to be
uh,
honest.
videos or anything?
No, not much to be honest. Like, because I've been a bit what's the word? Like, just been getting migraine a lot. So
No.
last few
Trust me.
days. Yeah, I've just been working and then just chilling in a dark room. That's pretty
I
much.
am suffering with one right now, so I hear you, brother. I hear
Here's the worst.
you.
Here's the worst.
Yeah, I am just sharing out with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and we can get into some of the stuff that you did work on before, if you want to, because I know you had a really good video out about Pereira and Kane. I don't know if you want to go over that.
Yeah, I don't mind. So what did you think of it as
No, I
like a
thought it was cool, like how you, especially like I know it seems cliche, but like the beginning when you were talking about Izzy is the Undertaker, and then you had Kane come in, and like the literal direct comparison where he's walking out with the Undertaker's urn. I was like, okay, I see where you're going there. And then
yeah,
like how he's the boogeyman, he's stuck in the lower promotions for a little while, unknown, and then he comes and breaks out on the scene, and he's just like that big monster. So I thought it was good, man.
yeah, that's it. I found it really fun to be honest because I loved Kane growing up, but I didn't know much about like Glenn Jacobs.
Mm.
Put that on silent. I didn't know much about Glenn Jacobs, so I didn't know he had many characters. Obviously, I assumed he would have had characters and stuff before that, but I
Mm.
just didn't know what they were or anything like that. So,
Some of the
my
worst, man. Al Yankum, the
yeah,
Christmas monster, like
my favorite was the Unabomber. It's like how crazy is that? Like, and it was around the time as well. Like,
yeah, early
so,
'90s
yeah.
wrestling, you can do anything and get away with it.
So yeah, that made me laugh because there's some clips I had to miss out, and I think one of them was a Unabomber clip,
Is
which
that what you had to cut to make it
yeah,
copyright friendly?
yeah, and it's WWE that one to be honest. Like UFC were quite good, like they'd try and copyright stuff, and then I'd cut a little bit out, and I think it was more as long as the UFC clips weren't very long, they weren't that bothered. But with WWE, man, they just weren't having it at all. So pretty frustrating. But I managed to get most out, get around it, and yeah, to be honest, as a video, it was fun to do because yeah, studying his career and then watching Alex's early career, like gives you a different perspective, like on both of them, to be honest. So yeah, and like it was funny because the Izzy thing was at the start of the video about him walking
Mm.
out with Undertaker,
Yeah,
but that wasn't even in my mind. Like that was like as I was researching, and then I was looking at Izzy's record, and then I saw he fought Cannonier before Alex, and then it just went ding in my head, and I thought, no way, he come out as the Undertaker against Cannonier, like literally the
yeah,
fight before Alex. So that one like kind of got crammed in,
yeah. It
like
just fell
and
in perfectly. Like,
yeah,
no, I gotcha. And then, I mean, if you want to, you obviously you worked hard on that. You did a lot of clipping and stuff like that. Um, just kind of talk through, if you don't mind, like your process. Like, what are you looking for when you do that? When you take those clips, like, do you have a script in mind first, and you find the
yeah.
clips, or do you find the clips and then make the script based on that?
No, I do a script it all first, like or if I don't write an actual script, I write like the basis of the script. So like I don't know how to describe it, like a blueprint, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
is like the best way of looking at it. And then I'll just put like insert, at certain parts of the script, I'll be like insert this video, and then so I'll do the script, and then I'll look for clips, and then basically I'll kind of like figure out the best ones that I think are the best, and then just narrow it down to that. But funnily enough, there is a video I'm working on at the moment, and it's going the other way around, where my scripts, I'm looking at clips first, and then the script is revolving around that. So,
Do you think it's easier, or do you think it's harder?
No, I think it's just necessary for this project, if that makes sense. Like,
No, it doesn't.
No, that's very logical, but I would find it easier to script first and then do the clips around the script. But this one, it's very reactionary to the clips, this next one I'm working on. So it makes more sense to kind of seek out the clips first and then write what I'm thinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I invited the dude, and I think he's in the waiting room. But he has a really stupid username, so I'm like, do I really want to invite?
Is that not my stupid username? I have a really stupid username.
What'd you put?
Can you not see it?
Nah.
Oh, Mr. Massive Penis.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm the stupid username, not him.
I was like, why is this? Okay, because you're the only two I sent the invite to, and you're here. I was like, what the hell is that?
I thought it might attract Cal if he saw Mr. Massive Penis. I'm not seeing him for a couple of weeks.
I know, right? The more inappropriate, the more likely the Cal is to come around.
Yeah. No
like, offense.
That sounds like I'm obsessing over Cal a bit. I'm not. It's just that, do you know what, Cal? I notice you when you're not present. Like, that's how important you are.
Yeah, right. When you're not here and
Nah, to be honest, it is noticeable because he talks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Not throwing shade or anything.
Nah, not at all. We're just messing around. But so do you want to get into Ngannou? You want to get into Ferreira and where you think the PFL goes from here? I mean, obviously I made that little reactionary thing there, and I don't know if you had a chance to watch it or comment on it.
Yeah, I did. You know what? I like what you're saying, because I was thinking the same thing. Kind of is like similar. I think I commented on it saying is a massive fish in a really small pond right now, and it's just at his last big meal. So, you know, it's almost like we've got to wait for all the fish now to grow and evolve for Francis to have something of substance to live off. Which I like where I'm going with this analogy, but I also think he was in a similar situation in the UFC. I think he had two big fish left in there, John Jones and Aspinall, and then it was a case of building these small fish up for the big fish to eat again. So I think with the UFC machine, they can make a heavyweight. They made Tai Tuivasa look good. There we go. We got that in early.
Yeah.
They made people think Tai Tuivasa was a contender at some point. You know what I mean? So UFC machine can do that, and it will crush anything that PFL is trying to build, like they did with Renato. Like, I don't know if you noticed it, but anyone related to the UFC was quick to be like, no, Renato's like a B League fighter. He's this, he's that. Like, so that's the challenge. I think is he's going against a big machine now. He's just ate the last of his fish, and
and that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like he's got nowhere to go. Like I feel like they could have made it like this mini tournament. Like I said, like put Ngannou versus Bader. You know, Ngannou comes in as the former UFC champion. Bader is the former heavyweight champion. Boom! Like that's a fight you can make. You can hype that up, and then on the side you have Ferreira, who he'll probably beat whoever else, other heavyweight, and then they can clash, and then that builds you like two big massive pay-per-views. But the way they did it, they just threw him right into their best of the best. Like, this is the best we have, and he got demolished.
Like, it's the fact that it's almost like they haven't foresaw this, like, because now there's talks about I probably get his name wrong, but the kickboxer Rico Vadim, I can't remember his name.
The K1 heavyweight kickboxing champion,
Yeah, Voorhees or something. He looks like his surname looks like Jason Voorhees. Like, that's how I remember it. And if they were smart, they would have got him in for this card and have him annihilate someone on this card tonight, like last night. Like similar to what they're doing with Cyborg, like they've just got her in. She's just beat like Pacheco, who beat Harris. So, you know, like they've almost done that with the women, but they failed on Francis's side. Whereas I actually had the same opinion about him going into boxing. Right? I forgot that Tyson Fury exists, and he's like he likes to call other people. He's an absolute dosser, and he look for any opportunity to defend the belt against a debutant.
Right.
I consider that. So when he was talking about boxing, I was like, that's a huge mistake. You're going to go into boxing, you're going to fight someone like Derek Chisora, who will probably batter you, and then you just look like an idiot who, you know. But luckily for him, he put up a great fight against Fury, which sustained that boxing thing that got in the AJ fight. So it's been a success in that sense. But in both now, boxing and MMA, he's got nowhere to go. Usyk ain't going to fight him. Like,
No, I mean, maybe he could fight like I don't know, like a Dylan White.
Yeah. What does that gain for him if he loses? He's been beat by a guy with not a massive name, like not in MMA. Like Dylan White's huge in boxing, but in MMA, he's not very well known. Yeah, I just don't like Wilder's another name I can think of, but what do you get from that? He's on a free fight.
Yeah, skid, right?
So yeah, it's just like, and again, that the risk with Wilder is like you saw what AJ's jab did to Ngannou. What's Wilder's jab gonna do? You know, so I'm really happy that Francis won. I'm really happy that he gets to say I did the boxing thing and I managed to have at least one big fight out of the UFC. But yeah, it's just kind of like unless he retires, it's like what's the point now?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, obviously the PFL doesn't want that. They are trying to push for him to go against Jones. Like, I don't know if you saw that or not, but that's like their big thing is like, hey, John Jones, come over here and fight. It's like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but for the sport though, that would be amazing. It's like the Saudis are trying to do for MMA what they're doing for boxing. Is where they're like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to try and pay these guys so much. That the promoters
you can't resist it, right?
Yeah, and like so. Funnily enough, it's a video I want to work on in the future about all the UK promoters. Now they've always had war. Now all of a sudden they're all best friends, holding hands. And I'm talking
thanks to the Saudis.
Yeah, like I'm talking about like these promoters have like been shot, and then they've had to interview like other promoters about these shootings because that's how like dark these beefs were, like, you know what I mean? So like, and now they're holding hands and they're best friends, and it's purely because they're making money with each other now, and I think that can happen with the UFC and PFL, because like one thing UFC has always shown, like that they're money first, like they're literally money over the sport, like they will ruin the sport if it means them getting more money, you know what I mean? Like
right.
Fedor, they're doing it now with Jones and Ngannou. So, but yeah, I'm a bit of a tangent, but I think it might be possible with the Saudis now to where we actually get a unified MMA champion, which is something that we've never had in MMA. People talk about boxing and all that, but we have never had an actual unified, undisputed world champion in any weight class in MMA. Like, it's all disputable, like, because
I think the only thing you could really say is like when you go back to Pride and you had the Pride and UFC crossovers, whenever like Chuck Liddell went over to Japan and fought Rampage and beat Rampage. So like I think that's kind of the closest you could ever say that there was a unified champion.
Well, to be honest, like that's what ruined it all because Chuck went over and obviously everyone expected Chuck to win. Rampage beat him. So that just threw everything up in the air because UFC always expect to have the best guy. And then all of a sudden, you couldn't even get through the semi-finals, so that really dented their reputation. That made a lot of people then go, actually, is UFC the best of the best, or is it just like a cyclone, where we're just trapped in this UFC thing and we don't see out of the woods kind of thing?
Yeah, so, I think it's both of those problems, though.
And yeah, I think that's what they're kind of scared of. But I think I don't think that's something you should be fearful of. Like, it's a sport at the end of the day, and sometimes the best guy is going to be on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I think that's because the UFC is who they are. They are the big name. They're scared to not have the best guy, so that's why I don't think they're going to send their guys over. Like whenever the sport was growing and they had to get their name out and then like show that they were a contender, like that's when they were more like willing to go across the seas. But like now they're number one, so I feel like they're in a position to where if you want to send your best guy, like you're going to have to offer the UFC something. The UFC is not going to send their best guy. Does that make sense?
You know what though? Part of me does think though, like this new, is it Endeavour that's bought them now, or that they're part of the umbrella of?
Right.
Whatever that's called, this new umbrella, I do think it might change perspectives on a lot of things because a lot of these guys now are more Hollywood people than fight business people. So I think they'll be more capitalistic than being like, what's the word, like tribalistic. I think their capitalistic ways will outlive.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
tribalism.
Maybe, and I think, especially because the WWE, they put on Saudi shows and they were really big on trying to get that market. So I mean, there's not maybe, right? Maybe is what I'll say to that.
I'm just hopeful. Like I'm just living in hope because you know what, I'm seeing Dakota coming up in PFL Europe, and I can see her being in this same situation in a couple of years, where she clearly looks like the best female out there, but she's got that check against her name because she's not fighting UFC girls.
She's not right in the big promotion.
Yeah, and then obviously the UFC aren't going to let her go fight Dakota if she doesn't want to sign for the UFC. Because I've got a feeling Dakota's going to get herself to a point where she won't need the UFC because she'll be making more money off the PFL.
I think it would be just undeniable at that point.
Yeah, and PFL, I don't know if it's PFL doing a good job of promoting her or she's doing a good job of promoting herself, or it's a mix of both. But she's very well known, like especially in the UK. Like she's always like at football games, for Man City games, being interviewed on TV before them and stuff like that. And so, like, I can see this happening with her, and I really don't want it to happen. Like, I really want it to get to a space where we can have an undisputed champion in MMA despite anything. It's like Usyk and Fury had their press conference today. I don't know if you saw it.
I did not.
Yeah, Fury was just quiet. Like, he didn't think really. He did Wilder. He did the Wilder approach of let me just try and stay quiet, not say much. Usyk dressed like Hitman out of the game, literally.
Oh, really? Just dressed the nines in it.
It was so cool. And then he has this briefcase, right? So he opens up his briefcase, gets it out, says to Fury, will you sign it? Fury says, yeah. Pulls it out, and it's pictures of him knocking Fury all around the ring. And Fury hadn't seen it by the time he said, will you sign it? So Fury, you could see Fury's face is like, oh, you little dick, you've got me here. And it was just really fun to see. Like, Fury was really humble. Usyk was the one being a bit clownish, but not on Fury's level. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, that would be interesting to see a quiet and reserved Tyson Fury. I haven't seen that before.
I've seen it. I'm trying to think. Because Fury's been in a few fights where he might not have lost on paper, but he lost. You know what I mean? Like the Ngannou one's a good example of that. And yeah, he's always a little bit humble after those ones where everyone's like, yeah, you just lost your last fight. But to be fair, he always wins by knockout after those ones as well. So, I don't know if that's a foretelling thing.
See, right, if that's a full circle moment for him or not. But.
Yeah.
But did you watch the actual PFL card, or did you just watch the highlights, the main event?
I had on in like the background. What was I doing? Can't remember what I was doing. I think I was with my mate actually, and I just had it on in the background, and we were just waffling rubbish, and then the TV would go and would just look a minute, So I saw some of the AJ one with Nathan Hughes. I'm absolutely buzzing for Nathan Hughes with that because I just didn't I just didn't see him winning at all.
Yeah, you said AJ was going to win, and you were really convinced, and
yeah, I was like bombastic with like, you know, I was like AJ. I did think AJ was UFC level at one point. So, you know, the fact that Nathan Hughes come over and beat him, I'm buzzing about that. I didn't see much of the Cyborg fight. Like, Cyborg looked cut up from what I saw. I don't know if she should have won. Like,
no.
It didn't seem like she should have. But
in my opinion, she lost 4 rounds. I don't know how anybody gave her that fight.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Like, I was so sure. I didn't even watch the decision. Like, it was just going to happen. Pacheco won that fight. Yeah. And then I saw that Cyborg had the belt, and I was, what the hell just happened?
I think it would have suited PFL to give her the win anyway, because like that she's beaten Harrison and Cyborg, but that's a good CV. Like,
and she's a homegrown talent, you know.
Yeah.
And she's not a Bellator champion. Like, she's been with the PFL for a while now, so like that could be your star. But then I don't know, man. There were some shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
I didn't think
making the best decisions, are they? At the moment of time. And yeah, who else fought on that? I didn't watch Leon Brothers fight either. I forget his.
That was a close fight. Very close fight.
The last one was quite close as well. And I just thought, like, because like the American guy won last time, I thought that would be in Fabian's head and he'd get himself beat again. Like, I thought it looked like Bilal versus Leon, to be honest. Like,
the first round kind of was like that.
Yeah.
Eblin was had him held down, and but I thought Edwards won. I mean, it was close. I think I'm not mad about it, but Edwards looked good against somebody who.
Like, you could have given it either way kind of fight.
I think Eblin won, but I think Edwards won the. Let me rephrase this. Eblin won the MMA decision, but Edwards won the fight. If that makes sense.
I get you. Like Ngannou versus Fury, innit? Ngannou won the fight. Fury won the boxing decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah. So is that them all now? We think we just.
Yeah, that's all I watched.
Yeah, same here. I don't think I watched any more. But do you know what? It was a good card. I've got to admit, it didn't seem any different than a UFC card in terms of talent. Like, you know, like I wasn't sat there at any point thinking, God, these guys just don't.
Yeah, they're horrible. Right.
Yeah.
So, I do have to say, I don't know how much you caught of like the production style, but I liked it a lot more.
Yeah. I noticed it in like the build up. So obviously when Ngannou was doing the face off and all that, I kind of liked how they were doing that as well. But yeah, you can see like with PFL, you can see it does seem like they listen to people, like getting Dan Hardy on board and stuff like that. It does seem like they are willing to listen. So
yeah, the commentary was good. The presentation I thought was really good because it's kind of more like a boxing style presentation where like they'll introduce the person in the back and then they'll have them like come down and like everything kind of moves quickly. It's not like UFC where you take 25 minutes in between a fight to explain this person's journey to learning a leg kick, you know, like.
Yeah, that's it. Joe Rogan and DC talk about chicken or something like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good segue. That's a good segue into another thing I wanted to talk about. Commentary. I mean, obviously we've talked about commentary before, but like, it's getting worse. It's getting so much worse.
Well, you know what's noticeable for me, right? I watch a lot of PFL Europe, and I noticed when Dan Hardy went from UFC to PFL and he started commentating on their things, I was like, God, they have lost a really good analysis there, because I used to really enjoy him. Like, he was one of the few where he would just analyze things, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, this guy's English, so I'm going to try and analyze it to make it seem like he's winning. Like, so yeah,
I think there's less emphasis on that because like Bisping is really good at the technical details of what happens. Dominic Cruz is really good at the technical stuff, but then they let DCU come in and like you said, talk about fried chicken for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, What the fuck?
Yeah, I know, and that's what frustrates me is like Bisping. Don't get me wrong, Bisping is guilty for this as well. Like, there's loads of times where Bisping is just doing alliteration or like, you know, just being silly and then talking about the silliness that he's just done while someone's getting his head pummeled in. And Bisping's just talking about, oh, wasn't that a nice bit of alliteration? You know, little things like that. So they all do it. Like Dominic Cruz
Yeah,
has his
they all do it.
Yeah, where he just wants to bully DC, which I find that entertaining, if I'm honest. Like, I love Dominic Cruz's energy.
Oh yeah.
He sits there, the smallest guy in the room, but he talks like he's the toughest man. Like, and I love it because in like both DC and Bisping, he goes at him and he just does not care. Like yeah, it might be massive, but I'm confident. So do what you're doing. Yeah, but yeah, I love Dom Cruz, but yeah, like it's to me, it's when Rogan's on is where it's just a write-off because it's like you play that bingo with Rogan. It's like he has the same things that he says every fight, like about calf kicks. Mm-hmm. Then if there's a jiu-jitsu guy, it's like, oh, you don't want to get on the ground with him. Oh, you're in his world now. You're in his world now. And like the guy's just getting pummeled or something like, but Joe Rogan's just hyper fixated on the fact that they're on the floor. Mm-hmm. Like, and then I like DC when Rogan's not on, but then when Rogan comes on, DC just turns into funny DC, like Uncle DC.
I can't stand him. I can't stand him at all, to be honest with you.
You know, I like DC. But
I hate DC with a passion. Yeah. I haven't liked him since he was a fighter, so I think it carries over. Plus, like I said, he says like the most nonsensical thing. Like literally, somebody could be missing 99% of their punches, and he's like, "Oh, you know, like he's got to keep on that." He just rocked him there. He's like, "No, he moved out of the way." Like he's just. To me, he doesn't even pay attention. And Dominic Cruz even called him out. He said he doesn't do his research. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that. Like, you just come on here and you just talk. Like, that's all you do. You're not even looking at the fight. I don't feel half the time.
The aftermath where Bisping both sat down and Bisping was like refereeing and having a little debate. It was funny, man. It made me laugh. That.
Yeah.
They both try to explain to Dominic, like, that's not what friends do, Dominic.
And Dom's like, I don't care. Do your job. Do it right.
Yeah, that's what Dom's like. He's like, I don't care. Just do your fucking job. Like, we're here to get paid for something.
Yeah, we all come in and like everybody's here, you know, hours ahead of time to kind of talk about things, and DC just shows up and riffs.
I actually think Dominic Cruz is like probably the best trash talker that we've ever had. Like, that's why I liked him, right? I remember watching him on Tough, didn't know much about him.
When he was going against...
I think it was Uriah.
Steroid guy. Oh, okay. When he was Faber.
Yeah, I think it might have been Faber. And unless it was someone before Faber. But then just watching him navigate Faber and just putting him, like... It's like watching a chess master play against me at chess. Like... My pawn's going where he wants it to go. You know what I mean? And I just used to love it. And then there'll be moments where like TJ Dillashaw was like, I'm done talking to you now. And he's like, you're not done talking to me, dummy. This is an interview. We've got another minutes. And it's so logical. I used to love it.
No, I love Dom. I thought he was good. People hated on him because he didn't finish fights, but he sure picked people apart, and then he kept that tradition going up in trash talk too. So.
Yeah, and the footwork at the time was just like, it was like watching Lomachenko in boxing. Like,
it was phenomenal.
No one was doing footwork in MMA like that at that time. You know what I mean? And it was like focusing on rhythms and stuff like that. Whereas he was very good at going in and out, changing his rhythm. Like, he deserves so much more respect than he gets.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was because a lot of his really big wins happened in WEC. Obviously, you know, his prime was WEC, and then when he came over, he was still champion. He still defended the title, but I think he was obviously getting a little older and 3 knee surgeries and
that's it.
He said he doesn't believe in ring rust, but.
Well, he kind of disproved the ring rust theory, didn't he? Because he lost his belt, got injured for like a year, come back, fought a contender, battered him, and then just got his belt back straight away. It's like, it just didn't look like he ever went away. I think he did that twice, didn't he? Like,
I don't know. But I know, like, even his last fight when he fought Chito Vera, Like, he was beating Cheeto. I don't know if people don't remember that, but like, he was beating Cheeto's ass, and he just got backed into a corner and that head kick.
Think about it, like the butterfly effects of that, right? If Dominic would have just carried on and beat him on points like he was going to, absolutely dominate him, there would have been no talk of him fighting O'Malley for that title. Like, because it just wouldn't have been possible. It's like, why is Cheeto going to get this shot now? He's been dominated by Dominic Cruz. He probably would have been beat after that, because he got beat after that, didn't he?
It probably would have been Dominic versus O'Malley.
Mate, I think Dominic could go O'Malley, you know. I actually think he could. Like,
it'd be hard to hit him. So
yeah, I think with O'Malley, what I've noticed is give him something to fear, and he'll be fearful of it. Like, does that make sense? Like, so Cheeto, he had nothing to fear, right? So he looks
just
great.
Toughness. You can't really fear toughness.
Yeah, nothing coming back to fear. Like, you know he can, but Sean knows he's better at footwork, and he's like taller and longer than what Cheeto's used to fighting against, so he can just move his head out of the way. Like, but then I actually think people always say, "Oh, but Sean will batter Gervonta Davis in an actual fight." Yeah, I'm like, no, he wouldn't. Sean O'Malley would not step. Like, if put them two in a ring together, you tell Sean you can do whatever you want. Yeah, you can grab him, you can kick him, you can. Soon as Sean knows what Gervonta's jab feels like, he's not going near it. He's not going near it, and he will look exactly the same as he did against Marab, backing up, until Gervonta can land on him. I can't stand Sean O'Malley, so I'll always find ways to just make him out to look like a weakling.
I think you talk about that a lot, but there's a big difference between boxing power and MMA power. I mean, you know, that there's a reason they wear those big old pillows on their hands like that. That's going to do some serious damage. And obviously in MMA, you're not swinging for the fences every single time. So, like, I don't know. I feel like once those jabs start popping on your nose, it's gonna be a rough time.
Yeah, really, like look at a guy. I always go back to a guy. Like, look what his face looked like after just one jab. Like, he took one jab that was set up properly, because Fury doesn't jab like a boxer. You know what I mean?
He just throws his hands out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Joshua jabs like a boxer, and he felt that one. And you could see it on Francis's face. It was like, oh shit, what have I done here? Like, this felt like a shin, mate. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that.
And I think you could see that against Renan, against his opponent this weekend. Just no fear. He was just like, you know what, mate? I've took your little leg kick. I'm just gonna now walk up to you and put you on the ground and just finish you. Like,
yeah, and that was. I mean, that's so crazy that he was able to do that. And
I know.
As much hype as Ferreira had, and I mean, credit to the PFL, I guess, for building that hype, but as much hype as he had, and then he offered nothing, like absolutely nothing.
Like, the only thing he could have offered is if he landed as clean as he landed on Bader, on Francis, then what does Francis do? Like, after feeling that, you know what I mean?
And that's what I said. If he gets hit by Ferreira, where's his brain going to be?
Yeah.
He got destroyed. He got knocked to the canvas and embarrassed against Anthony Joshua. Like, where's his brain going to go? Oh shit, this is on repeat. Like,
yeah. So that was my thing, but as you could see, it just don't look like he could even set up a jab, like, or anything. Like, but again, is that because Francis was good and his footwork was good, and just that superior, that's how he looked. It's like the Garn John Jones thing, isn't it? Is Jones made Garn look like an amateur, but we know he's not. You know what I mean? We've watched Garn so many times, we know how good he can be. But if you've only ever seen him against John Jones, you're probably going to think he's terrible.
An absolute bum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I suppose you can see it that way.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I've seen Ngannou lose against Derek Lewis in a very, very boring back and forth, like, nothing burger fight. So I have that bias, like, is he really that good, or is he just really strong? You know, like.
Well, I use that for my prediction in the AJ fight, I predicted AJ will put him out in 1 round, and everyone was like, "What? You've just seen what he's done to Fury, and you think AJ?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, because if you watch him against Derek Lewis, he was terrified of being punched by Derek Lewis.
Yeah, he was scared to get hit.
That suggests to me, I kept saying in the lead up to AJ fight, I think Francis has been knocked out by a boxer before in sparring, and I think he knows what that is. You know what I mean? So, I saw that as the best foretelling for the AJ fight, because what does he do against a man with power in his hands?
And I kind of thought that's how this fight was going to go. Like the Ferrer fight, like just hesitant, but like he wrestled. I mean, obviously he took a lot to heart with that training, and then
as well. I think you put him against Derek Lewis now, and I think that's how it goes. I think Francis now has confidence in his wrestling that he'll get under his hooks and get him down. But again, it shows how much he's evolved though as well, Francis. Who would have thought that he would just go in and just absolutely wrestle fuck someone? Like, no one would have thought that like 3-4 years ago.
Oh no, absolutely not. He didn't wrestle at all. I mean, all he had was big, huge power and intimidation.
It was the Stipe fight where it was like, wow, Francis has unlocked a new skill. And he had to beat Stipe. Because I remember being so shocked. I remember thinking Stipe is just going to walk him down here and just batter him. And, Dana White's going to be pissed off with Francis again. And that's it. And as soon as Francis was shooting and stuff, but looked good doing it, I was like, oh my God, what monster have we got here now?
Yeah, what have we created, right? He was stuffing takedowns and he was creating takedowns. It's like, oh shit.
And even White was like, John Jones wants to move to middleweight now after watching that. That was his famous quote after it, to big up Francis. So, yeah, it's funny how the turns have tabled, isn't it, with all that.
Yeah, I think good on Ngannou for evolving, and I don't know where he goes from there. I seriously have no idea where he goes from here, and I think that's a sad proposition for the PFL because they spent apparently a ton of money promoting this fight. I'm pretty sure it fell flat. That's not what I wanted. I
think for an investment, it might have worked out for PFL because I know they were co-promoting his boxing events as well. So that the amount that must bring in, that was probably UFC's bloody half a year revenue. Those two fights, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean boxing revenue is just
I mean that I'm probably exaggerating. UFC's revenue is huge, but it's probably to look at it realistic, it's probably 100 UFC fighters yearly wage.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that in the least. That's.
I mean, they made money off that, co-promoting them boxing events. And then obviously they had PFL on those boxing events as well, so everyone got to know. Oh, there's another MMA promotion, and it's called PFL. Because literally everyone was like, "Oh, Francis is the UFC guy," leading up to that, and then PFL did do a good job of being like, "No, he's not a UFC guy; he's our guy," kind of thing. So I did see that in the UK. I did see more people talking about PFL. Off the back of just because the boxing announcers and commentators have to keep referring to him being from PFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as many times as they were forced to say it.
Yeah.
Now, so I just looked while we were talking. I just looked. So in his last fight, you had Alex Pereira, right? One of the best champions in the UFC right now, made just over $1 million for that fight.
Yeah.
Do you care to guess how much Ngannou made from the PFL?
I'm going to go 10.
You're very, very close.
Yeah.
You're very close. $8 million.
Yeah, because that's like a Dillian White kind of. That's what Dillian White would get against a decent boxer. You know what I mean? That's
insane to think. He basically multiplied the UFC's best champion 8 times over. It's incredible.
It's shocking that Alex Pereira could make just $1 million. He's arguably just as famous as a lot of the big boxers right now. He's literally, everyone talks about Pereira right now, just sports fans in general. And the fact he's making $1 million.
Yeah, it was like 1.3 or something like that. It's just crazy.
My club, right? My football team, we're not the best team. Our best players make around 375 grand a week. Yeah, so in a month, they'd make like
$1 million.
Yeah.
Like what Alex made.
Yeah, and that's not including sponsorships. That's just their basic wage, right? They'll also have goal bonuses. They'll have assist bonuses. They'll have finishing at certain places. All them kind of bonuses. This is why I hate when Dana White goes on about like the UFC or slap fighting being up there. It's not until your athletes are getting paid like the other sports stars. Your sport isn't there yet. Like, and I want it to be. I'm sat here in a Muay Thai t-shirt. Like, I want it to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, yeah. I just looked it up. Jordan Love, he's the quarterback for the Packers, right? My favorite team, whatever. He's set to make $79 million this year.
Yeah, that's
for 17 weeks of work. You can do the math. What was that, like $4 million a week?
Alex will have to fight twice a week for that.
Like, that's insane amount of money. And the UFC says, "Oh, we pay our fighters very well."
I know. That's what annoys me. Is who was he talking about? He was talking about someone recently, and he was like, "Yeah, don't worry about that kid. He's just made a shitload of money." And I'm thinking, no, he's not, bro. He's just.
What do you consider a shitload?
Yeah, I think it was Marab. I think he was talking about Marab. And he was like, don't worry about that kid. He's going to be set for life now. And I'm thinking, he's not. He's not even
right.
like.
Unless their like pay-per-view points are so tremendous, that's the only thing I think of, because that's just the disclosed salary. So unless their pay-per-view percentages are just astronomical, there's no way they're getting anything close to that.
Yeah, I think they'd release them though if they were, wouldn't they?
You would think they would brag about it, and
because like in boxing, it's just a given that we know every pay-per-view number, like.
Yeah, while the pay-per-view is going on, you know the number.
Yeah.
Like,
so, and the promoters will be quick to tell us, because the promoters will want to tell us. They'll want to say, "Oh, my fighter, he was a bit of a dud. He only sold this much." You know what I mean? So his next fight, it won't be pay-per-view. Or this fighter did really well. He sold this much, so his next fight is definitely pay-per-view. So UFC, like, the fact that they never show us, never tell us, like, they just kind of hint at it, like. Dana always hints at it with Sean O'Malley, like, "Oh, Sean O'Malley does huge numbers." Like, to me, it just shows that they don't, because we'd see it, And the fact that both PFL and UFC are at ESPN now, I think that could help things as well. If we're going back to the crossover stuff. Yeah,
they're both being. UFC is showcasing their fights on ESPN Plus, and then. PFL's owned directly by ESPN, so
yeah. So unless like UFC moves, like that's so easy. Like there's no like other TV network. Like
maybe. I mean, I don't know. I just maybe I'm just I just don't see it happening. I guess like it's just.
Oh yeah, I don't. I just want it to like.
Yeah.
It's like you say. I think the last time it happened was Chuck Liddell. I don't think it's happened since, has it?
If it has, then it's not somebody I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, you can say McGregor, but that doesn't really count because that wasn't for MMA. Like,
right.
If anything, that only helped boxing. Like.
Yeah, now I think that's something that I could see a lot more of is MMA fighters going to boxing, because Dana White said he's ready to get into the boxing arena. So I think you can see a lot more of that. I think that's more likely than cross promotion with another company.
But Dana White won't ever own any of these boxers that his fighters want to box.
No, he'll have to pay in points, and he'll have to eat shares of pay-per-views and stuff like that for sure.
Because he's not going to generate the next like Javante Davis all of a sudden. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like. If anything, that's only going to make it harder, I think, because he will only want him to fight boxers from his promotion, which it's not going to be like big, is it? Like
not at first, no. But I think that comes with the territory of making a new company, you have to give people a reason to want to join your whatever. Like when Bellator just first came out, like some of the UFC fighters that kind of jump ship over there, it could be like that, where there's some mid to high tier boxers who either maybe on the downswing of their career, or they're just trying to find their name, like maybe not the best guys in the world, but there could be some talent there for sure.
It's just catching it though. Like, could Dana White afford one, even one that's falling down?
Right.
That'll ruin his
millions of dollars.
Yeah, because as soon as his UFC fighters know how much he's paying a has-been boxer, like, what do you do then? When let's just use Dillian White as an example. Like I said, that $8 million is like Dillian White's standard pay, for most fights. Like, so imagine him fighting, let's just say Garn or something in this cross promotion, and then Garn has to get his wage up because he knows what Dillian White's getting. So let's just say Garn then gets paid $4 million, Dillian White gets paid $8 million. And then Alex Pereira sat there all of a sudden like, whoa, I am the face of this promotion and I'm getting paid $1 million.
Right.
Like, Dana White might be
hurting himself a little bit.
Yeah, he might be messing shit up here, getting into boxing, because as soon as he has to start paying boxers wage, like, his UFC stars aren't going to be happy.
They're not going to be very happy. No.
I never even thought about that until now. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think if you have the guys who, he does reward with a higher salary, who go do the boxing, you have, man, that opens up a whole other can of worms. Like, you have these guys who maybe aren't champions but want to cross over, and they're making more than your champion is.
Yeah.
Like
a good example of that could be like Rob Font. Yeah, he's a good boxer, like, for UFC standards. Yeah, I could easily see him crossing over, never be a UFC champ, but cross over into boxing and, like you say, make probably double than the champion in his division, and then go back to UFC and not even be in the top 5. Like,
no, I think that's a big problem that they could have, especially with the era that we're in right now with the wrestling champions. Like, if they want to stay wrestling champions, their contenders might just move right over and make triple what the champion is making. Like, that's a weird predicament to be in.
I know. What do you think of this? Because it's been a subject on Twitter a lot, like, recently. Is the UFC almost, you could almost call it match fixing with, obviously Pereira's the main example of this, where Ankalaev has been available his last 2 fights that Alex could have fought Ankalaev for. But UFC has maneuvered it to where, like, Ankalaev's fighting someone else, so Alex has to fight this guy, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how is this not match fixing? How is this fair? Like, how is this not them manipulating the market? Like,
oh, 100% is, though. We know that.
But then gambling should be banned from UFC, like, because they're manipulating the market. Like, they can control, like,
who fights
who wins. Yeah, like, or not control it, but they're favoring people. Like, O'Malley was a good example.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, like, until they couldn't do it, until someone like Merab is like Ankalaev, if he was right, it would be hard for him to avoid it.
Right, you have to become undeniable.
Yeah, and that's not fair. It's like Bilal. He literally had to become so undeniable to get to where he was. Like, same with Leon, like, which is ironic. Both Leon and Bilal were in that same situation.
I think Leon was like the first in that situation. If you go back a few years, like, Leon won like 10 in a row or something like that. Like, when are you going to give this guy a title shot? That's insane. Like, he got no contest against Bilal because of an eye poke. So we made him fight 2 more times after that.
Yeah. And then he accepted the Kamzat fight. Like, he accepted Kamzat twice. Kamzat pulled out once, and I think Leon had to pull out once. So it was like, and this was the Kamzat that wasn't the Kamzat of today, where you can see, like, weaknesses and he's been ill and all this stuff. This was the Kamzat that was on a tear. And Leon was like, yeah, give him me. I don't mind. I want this title. And, like, yeah, it's just mad, isn't it? Like, like I'm saying, it's even the John Jones and Stipe, like, the heavyweight champion, is fighting a guy coming off a loss who's not fought for 2 years.
3 years, man.
3 years.
3 years. Like,
And
that's
then
crazy.
You've got Aspinall, you've got Garn, you got Garn's a bad example because he's fought Garn, but you got all these younger guys that are fighting that could easily have a title shot, and they're just not getting it. So
you have Volkov, who's looked pretty good recently,
Yeah.
and he's been on a winning streak. Like, you have people, like, you have guys you can throw in there.
That's it. Like, I think he was supposed to fight Garn this weekend, wasn't he, Volkov?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened with that, but it's one of them pulled out or whatever.
Have you seen the beef with 2 former UFC fighters on Twitter recently? Right, so I'll try and give you a bit of backstory. So Brendan Shaw is on his podcast, and his former training partner, Shane, you'll know his name, is it Shane Carvin or something like that?
Carwin?
Yeah. He's come out recently talking about CTE and how it's affecting his engineering job. Like, he can't do basic tasks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Shaw's like crying about this, like on his podcast, like reminiscing about hard training days that they had together and bragging about not remembering how they got home and stuff after a hard sparring day, so he's feeling a bit guilty, whatever. Nate Diaz, being the absolute weirdo that he is, the low IQ individual that he is, just tweeted "Crybaby Brendan Schaub," right, in response to that. So Schaub's obviously took offense and he's gone, "Look, I will kill you. Like, I don't care about all this 309 fake gangster shit." Like, basically Schaub absolutely tore Nate Diaz and you were just told him it will kill him in every way. He said, "You're not a gangster, you never have been." And like, it was just so nice to see literally just Nate Diaz just get told what he is. Because I've always wanted someone to say this shit to him.
Right, but everybody's afraid to, which is weird, right? Like, that's funny. No, I didn't see anything. I mean, Brendan Schaub is kind of a laughing stock, so I don't take much of it seriously. But if he put me in his place and made him humble, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's what was funny. Yeah, was like, you can tell Nate Diaz thought he was just gonna bully Shaw, and the internet would join in, but it didn't work out that way this time. Everyone was just like, "What are you talking about?" And then what's funny is, like, everyone's like, "You guys need to be careful because you guys are like the most CTE ridden people we've ever seen, like you Nate Diaz brothers. So, like, be careful what you're laughing at because maybe in a couple of years you'll be dribbling from, I don't want to go too into detail, but from how I've seen Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz regress over the last years, I am worried at what they're going to look like in 10 years' time.
Yeah, what are they going to look like at age 50?
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt that same way, though, about like BJ Penn. Like, BJ Penn towards the end, after he just got destroyed so many times in a row, it's like, dude, this guy's he's ruining his life, taking these beatings. Mm-hmm. And your boy Tony Ferguson is probably in the same boat.
Yeah, Tony. And then you look at, like, Tito. Like, I think he was the same where, like, not trying to say Tito was articulate, but you can literally see a massive difference from when he was a young guy fighting, like, the Shamrocks and that. He could maneuver in a press conference and be the winner in that scenario. He can't now. Like, he just can't now. Like, it's like he don't even know what he's saying sometimes.
Yeah, and you know the worst part about that is I don't know if you knew this, but he's like a representative or like he's some sort of a political position he got elected to for his city. So like a town commissioner or something.
Yeah, like the mayor of Huntington Beach. Like,
yeah, it's like, oh my God, you have this guy making decisions for you.
I know, yeah. I saw him getting pranked. He was in, like, this was in the pandemic, so when they had to do town hall meetings over Zoom, and I saw these, like, kids just pranking him over Zoom, and it was just funny because I was like, that's an actual mayor. Like, it was just not nice to see.
Yeah, like, what are we doing with our lives? But
bro, like, you had Trump as president, like Tito as mayor. It's not much of a stretch, is it? You know what I mean?
Hey, we had Glenn Jacobs was a governor.
Yeah, that's
Or
another. Yeah,
I don't know. He was something. Yeah, like
it
a
was
mayor.
like,
I think he was a mayor. Actually, he was a mayor.
yeah, like Tennessee or somewhere like that. Like, it's mad. Uh, I mean, let's be honest. Like, we act like it's a modern thing, but you had Ronald Reagan. Like,
Yeah, he was an actor.
Yeah, and like you look at Ukraine now, like their president. Like, you know, Ukraine's president. Do you know how he got elected?
Tell me.
So, well, this is my version of it.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's true, but this is what I've read. So he was playing the president in a popular TV series in Ukraine.
Oh yeah.
Right? To the point where people were like, he's so good at playing the president. Maybe we should vote for him to be the president. And he voted for him to be the president. So he saw all this and he's like, you know what, I'm going to run. And he ran. And then
That's hilarious.
I mean, but what's better as a president than a fucking actor? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right? Like I played. I'm not a president, but I played one on TV.
Yeah. I find that more trustable than a lot of them. Well, at least he looks like he can do it, you know.
Right? Oh, God. That's funny.
I mean, I think that was the thing with Obama. Like, was the big thing that helped him the most was that he was presidential.
He was. He had that air about him, that presidential air about him. Yeah.
Like, we've not had that since, really, have we? Like, even if Hillary won instead of Trump, we still wouldn't have had that presidential kind of like feeling. Like, we've not had it in the UK. Excuse me. We've not had someone that feels like.
I was gonna say, at the same time we had Trump, you had Boris, so you can't talk anything.
I'm not, bro, like,
he was the same as Trump. Like
we have a fucking king. Like, I can't say nothing. Like, we have a big guy just sitting on a throne telling us that we need to solve the homeless crisis. Like, right. You know, William is doing a show in the next few weeks where he's going around being filmed, telling us all the different ways how we can help solve the homeless crisis. And like, how about we behead you? Let's start with that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, how much is that stupid crown, that stupid fucking crown? How much is that worth? How many people could you give a house to with that?
Yeah, like all your castles that are sat there empty, throw all the homeless in them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if they want to go, like, some people like being homeless as well. Like, people forget that some people like nomads and shit like that. But the ones that don't like it and they're there for unfortunate circumstances, we've got a lot of palaces and a lot of mansions and a lot of manor houses that are empty. Because you're at other mansions and other palaces and other manor houses. So there's the problem. There's the solution.
Yeah, it's crazy when people start to get preachy, especially people who are multi-millionaires, billionaires. Who knows how much money they actually have?
Probably not a word for what they are, you know.
Right. What's after trillionaire? Like,
yeah, because like it just doesn't end with a family like that. It just doesn't end. Like, and then you think, well, this is how much they get. How much is all the assets worth? And then, you know, like
all the land, all the like you said, the empty properties, the house, the castles, and all that shit. Like
they literally own boroughs in the country as well. I think they own all the prisons. You know, so fuck knows how much they're
right. Like, how much is that actually worth? Like, that's crazy.
And that's the ironic thing. Yeah, they say they want to bring crime down. Well, how's the royal family going to make money if the prison,
right, without the prison system? Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, they own a lot, man. Like, my mum works for a company called the RAC, which was the Royal Automobile Club, which was like the first like thing where if you owned a car, they'd come out and fix it. And like that, the Queen owned that. She doesn't own it now. They used to own that as well, and it was like, you know, an emergency service. It's crazy.
So, that's wild. But you, with $20 in your pocket and nothing in the bank account, you can help solve the homeless crisis.
Yeah. I should split my £20 up and give them my share. You know.
Right. How many homeless did you pass? Give a piece to you.
It's horrible, man. Like, That's what I mean when I sit here and take the piss out of some other country. I'm like, look, you can turn it around on me anytime, and I'll join in with you because I totally understand that I live in a fucked up place.
Yeah, trust me, I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you.
I'm starting to believe that we're the evil ones. Like, we're the ones that are gonna need to be like took down in the next World War. And like, if we win it, if we manage to win, then we'll be able to write that we were the victims and we were just defending ourselves and all that. But yeah, I actually believe that.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but I think that people, whenever people start acting silly and you know, there needs to be repercussions, and whatever those repercussions are, as far as getting your ass kicked in a war,
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, I don't know what you need, like, but yeah, it's just a weird one. Like, everything we're doing, I'm just like, yo, isn't that what we had a world war about, like, fucking 100 years ago? Like, everything we're doing now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think about that too. Is like, man, didn't we, declare our independence for less than this? Didn't we overthrow a government for less than this shit? Like,
yeah. And that's one thing I always say about you guys is like, you guys fought so hard against taxation, against royals, and all these like things. Like, even the reason why you have guns is so nothing can overthrow you as an individual. And yet you're just letting it happen. Not you personally. Like, you're actually one of the people I know that actually has a different opinion other than red or blue. You know what I mean? Like, you're in some yellow zone somewhere.
Right. We get cast to the side, and yeah, no, it's. I think it's weird how it happened too. It's just that complacency and like everybody. I can't explain it other than to say like there are very few rich elitist assholes at the top that are kind of pulling the puppet strings for everybody else, and
yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Like, we all get separated. Like, we all like, oh yeah, but the Muslims and the Jews, they hate each other, so let them fight each other, and the Christians and the Muslims. And yeah, like, I generally feel like that's where we're at now. Is like, even if we're not separated by our religions, now we're starting. Well, not. It's always been this way, but it's becoming more apparent. We're getting separated by class and by like just so many different things that we're being separated by, that we're being told we need to argue about, when really we should just be like, that's different. Okay, it doesn't affect me. That's fine.
Yeah, like that's my thing. It's like, if it's not directly affecting you, like, why do you really care? Or do you really care? Or are you just being
you're just
preachy, following the herd, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if I'm a libertarian, but I am in that sense of like, you do what you're doing, just as long as it don't affect me and I don't have to pay for it and I don't have to like do whatever. I don't mind, you know.
Yeah, like do whatever you want to do as long as it doesn't encroach on somebody else's opportunity to do what they want to do. Like, and leave the kids alone. Like,
yeah.
Like, it's sad we have to say that, but like, leave the kids alone.
It's funny, isn't it? Both of us are in like two countries that describe themselves as first world countries, bastions of freedom. And look what we're talking about. Like, we're talking exactly the same as Victorians spoke, exactly the same as like Edwardians spoke, or you know, even further back. Like, it's just stupid.
It's stupid and it's gross and it's sad. Like, that's the biggest thing, is that it's sad that we're still talking about this.
It is, man. But you know what? I sit here drinking my Coca-Cola and using my iPad, so you know.
Right. Are we're those people who are up on high preaching about?
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just weird, isn't it? It's like nowadays, like, you gotta be so like. It's like a good example of this, and I'm not trying to ask anyone's opinion or anything or give out mine, but everyone wants you to either be, what are you? Are you Ukraine or Russia? Are you Israel or Palestine?
Mm.
And it's like there's no room for in between.
Right.
Like there's no room for like, you know what, I'm just fucking anti-war. And you know, I'm just like, even if people, how do I say this? Like, because either way I'm gonna offend a load of people with what I'm about to say right now. But even if it seems like people are just defending themselves, it's still like you still end up becoming offensive in that act of defense. You know, like it's so hard to say because you know,
because you don't want to say too much. No, I got it. It's just like there's no room for nuance.
I'm taking any side in particular because I'm not related to. I'm not Russian. I'm not Ukrainian. I'm not Israeli. I'm not Palestinian. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Islamic, and I'm not Christian. So none of it is affects me. Kind of none of it's part of my ethnicity or anything like that.
Right. You don't have anything swaying your decision in that.
regard. Yeah. And it's just like, so my whole view on everything is just like I just don't want people dying. Like. For rich people, like
that's the thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you hit the nail on the head.
Like the Ukraine-Russia thing could have been avoided. I think I really could have been avoided, but people made the decisions knowing what was going to happen. Like it's like I could say, if you do that thing, I'm gonna shoot your foot for doing that thing, and then you go and do that thing, and then I shoot your foot. And then you get all upset that I shot your foot. It's like, well, I told you not to do that thing, and I told you the consequence of you doing that thing, and you went and did that thing, and now you want to complain about the consequence that I told you was going to be the consequence of that thing.
Yeah, I think it's even worse than that because I think it's more like you tell me if you do that thing, I'm going to shoot your foot, and I tell you if you shoot my foot, I'm going to shoot your knee. And then I do the thing, you shoot my foot, I shoot your knee, and then it just did that acceleration of violence and like it could have been prevented pretty easily in my opinion, but I mean I don't think people wanted it to be prevented.
No, I think they needed war. Like obviously the Israel-Palestine one, that's been going on for way longer than October. People think it all started in October last year. Like that's been going on for a long time. Like,
thousands of years, man.
Yeah, and good luck trying to figure out how that one started, and who's in the right and who's in the wrong, because we have so many texts and so many even biblical scriptures that can help us tell us who might have been living there, all that stuff. Like that one's a way more complex than just saying that one could have been avoided, because I don't know how you can avoid that one. Like,
that one, I think nobody lives there. That's how you avoid it.
Well, yeah.
You just put a big nobody's here. Like you don't get to be here.
Yeah, because it's so hard, because it's like me claiming that I can just come to America now and just start taking your house because my ancestors went there years ago. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't got no proof that my ancestors were the originate or I don't know how to put it. But it's just so, it's basically like, no, we invaded this first. No, we invaded it first. No, we invaded. Like, I was having an argument recently about indigenous, my mate, he's like Cuban, his heritage is Cuban, and he only found it out recently. He grew up thinking he was Jamaican. So he was like, I'm an indigenous person. That's how he described himself, an indigenous American. Which technically he is. Cuba is, it's America if you want to consider it American. So, and, I don't know. But then I said, so I'm indigenous English. And he was like, you're not. And I'm like, I am. And he's like, yeah, but you're not though. And I was like, oh, how are I? I said, like, my family are Celtic. Like, I can track my family all the way back to Celtic blood. Like, when the Romans invaded, my family were already here. You know what I mean? And the Vikings, same. So I'm an indigenous person of England. And then he was like, but you're not in the modern way of saying it. And I'm like, well, why? And he's like, well, basically the modern definition is you can only be indigenous if you've been invaded. And I said, I'm from fucking England.
Right.
Like, it's probably the most...
1066 doesn't ring a bell to anybody?
Bro, like, our whole history is us being invaded, and us like, you know, like the Vikings, the Romans, the Normans, the whatever else was before all that. Like, you know, like our whole history is us being invaded and us either living with it and becoming it, or
Kicking
getting
people
rid
out.
of it, or whatever. Yeah. So he was like, yeah, but then he said, but it only counts if you're invaded by Europeans. And I said, the only people we were invaded by were Europeans. We didn't know any other people in that time. Like I said, if the Vikings weren't European, or the Romans weren't European. And he was just like, yeah, but it has to be a more modern thing. And I'm like, but at the end of the day, I'm just indigenous. Like,
You're just
that's
moving the
all I'm saying.
goalposts. Like it's just a moving of the goalposts. Like,
so I said to him, at the end of the day, all what you want to do is just say white people are indigenous, aren't you? And he was like, well, yeah, in a way, because like, you know, you guys like did all the oppression, and I said, but I've just given you so many different occasions of us being oppressed and by bigger things than what we were at the time and stuff like that. And then, so I said, well, what about the Irish then? Because he said it's got to be more recent. So I said, well, what? I said, well, I'm indigenous Irish then. And he went, eh? And I went, well, literally, that war, they only stopped bombing us in the 90s.
I was going to say, yeah, you never heard the IRA?
Yeah. I was like, that's more recent than the indigenous people in America. So
well, that's too recent.
Yeah. So I was like, technically, that's even more recent and all that stuff. And yeah, it was just we weren't arguing. Like, it was just trying to work out, am I indigenous under the current thing is, or am I not, you know? And it's like, we kind of come to the conclusion that you are by definition, but not by internet, Twitter kind of definition. Yeah. Like, you're a colonizer.
Yeah. No, it was funny because I don't remember what we were talking about, but I was like, what is they use the word indigenous and they keep using it. Like, what does that even mean? And I looked up the definition, and it's like people who were there before European invaders. I was like, that's a new definition, I guess. That's a new one.
Yeah.
So, but like, how long do you have to be in a place before you become indigenous? Well, like, my great grandkids, will they be indigenous to Florida?
Yeah.
Or well, are they?
That creates a fallacy in their definition, because every European country has been invaded by every other European country. So technically, everyone in Europe is indigenous by that definition. And that was the argument I was having with him, because that's what he kept telling me. No, they've got to be invaded by Europeans. And I was like, who do you think the Europeans were warring with before we went
other Europeans?
You know.
No, that's funny. But I think, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like whatever the definition is going to change tomorrow. So
yeah, that's it. It's strange, like the way how even like people can be offended at me saying I'm indigenous when by the definition I am. Not by the modern definition, but by the actual definition, how the word was invented and defined. Like, it's such a weird thing that we're talking about. But yeah.
And it's weird that we're on the topic. I don't even know how we got here, but that's just how these things go.
Yeah, we went a bit deep on this one. We did a bit of Ukraine, Russia, Palestine. Like, we didn't go full on deep, but
right.
We touched it.
Yeah. Hey, stop touching it. Don't do that.
Yeah. We should stop touching it. I think everyone should stop touching it. Like, we should stop touching each other. Like,
yeah. Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, innit?
Or don't even keep your hands to yourself. Just keep your hands in the air.
Yeah, just don't do anything. Like, just stay there forever. Or don't stay there forever. I don't know.
Yeah, right. If you stay here, like, will you eventually become indigenous? Like, who knows?
I know. Yeah. Like, yeah. So if this version of America right now gets invaded, just say all Europe all come together and say, you know, should we just invade the USA and just, you know, take it back?
Right. Would I be then indigenous?
Indigenous, yeah.
Right. If you guys came and invaded, like, they're invading the indigenous population.
Yeah. It's like your Hungarian ancestors, like they're clearly indigenous Hungarian, possibly, unless they moved there from somewhere else.
Yeah, who knows?
Like,
right?
do they count? it's a poorer part of Europe, so do they get the indigenous like thing?
Who knows?
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. It's an interesting conversation to have.
I know. And like the thing is like people will think like I'm trying to be offensive or I'm trying to be, I don't know what the word is, but I'm trying to like be like I'm trying to provoke, be provocative, but I'm not. It's literally, sometimes it's just confusing because like it was Indigenous Day, I think like last week or the week before, so that's how it come up. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, let me just have a dig at Indigenous people all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing.
In America and maybe Australia is such a more touchy subject, and I totally get that, you know what I mean? But like,
yeah, it was actually last Monday because it was Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day here. Also was my birthday, but you know, neither here nor there. And that's what got us on the topic of Indigenous Peoples Day, because when I was growing up, you know, this is Columbus Day.
Yeah,
you know, like Columbus came over here and
also that
European
branded to Indigenous Day.
Yeah, Indigenous Peoples Day. I think that was within the last 10 years or so. It hasn't been very long at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's got to be quite a modern thing because, yeah, I mean, they deserve a day to celebrate. Everyone else has their own day, so why not Indigenous people, you know? But,
no, I mean, I don't have any problem with it per se. I like, what's the definition of indigenous? You know, that's what I was looking up, and I brought up that conversation of who's really indigenous anyway. Like everybody comes from somewhere else.
I always find it weird how we claim Columbus. Like, we act like he's English when he's not. He was just, I think he was using an English ship. I think that's about it. Like, we paid him to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, he was funded by Queen Isabel of Spain.
Also, he did it for Spain as well. Right? So why do we take all the credit for Columbus? It's so weird.
I don't know anything about that, but we claim him here because obviously, you know, he went to South America.
Yeah.
Like we claim him because he went somewhere else.
Yeah, he's definitely on that ship in New England, wasn't he? What was it, the St. Mary, or was that his one? I get them mixed up.
Oh, his was the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, man.
Oh yeah, St. Mary, Santa Maria.
Yeah,
one of them.
But yeah, that's funny. Like, because you know he founded America, but he never actually set foot on mainland America at all. He was in some islands, and then he went way down south.
Yeah, I heard that Graham Hancock actually. This is that it wasn't him; it was someone before him. He went and discovered South America, like what we'd call Latin America now, and apparently he went down the Amazon, and he come back to Spain describing it as this like, advanced place with a lot of gold, and like the people there were very smart and into agriculture. Like they were very good with agriculture and stuff like that. He goes back to Spain, and no one believes him. But then years later, I think it was Columbus went, and he went to the Amazon. He went to where this guy described it, and it was the Amazon by this time. It was just a jungle. And so no one believed this Spanish guy. Like, this was a mystery for like hundreds of years. And now they've done LiDAR testing on the Amazon, and they can see cities buried below the Amazon.
Yeah, so, probably it was Cortez, if I'm
Yeah, it was Cortez, yeah. And what the theory is that he had syphilis. So he went to that part of the world with syphilis and literally wiped them all out because their immunities were just not ready for that. And that's what they think happened. Like, they think he did discover these cities and they were bustling and all that. And the syphilis, by the time he went back, the syphilis had just created a
and then the jungle just took over back. Yeah, I've seen like the jungle cities and stuff like that that they've uncovered and stuff. It's really, really fascinating.
Isn't it? Like, there's a type of soil, I think it's in the Amazon again, that they've discovered, like, below a few layers. And this soil we invented this type of soil recently, and it's man-made. Like, it can only be man-made, and we've discovered this black soil exactly the same, like layers down in the Amazon. So we actually think that the Amazon was man-made.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was dug out. I'm sure it was very much architecture was done to it. I mean, if you look, like, this is some of the LiDAR that you were talking about, like these great big cities that they were talking about that just literally disappeared below the jungle, like just huge complexes. And then, you know, you have the wild people who believe in like ancient aliens and stuff like that, and say that, you know, the aliens took their people back home and shit. But
it was just, you know what, that place got buried because Alex Pereira was hungry one day. And he was like, I'm just going to take out this whole village.
Just take the whole village out.
Yeah, he just got drunk, just finished his shift fixing tires, just took a walk into the jungle. I don't know.
He did his little silly walk into the jungle.
Doing his kickboxing walk. Have you ever watched a Muay Thai fight?
Yeah, of course.
Like, have you ever watched one that's like doing the actual Thailand traditional stuff and all that with all the music and the dancing that they have to do?
I've seen like the entrances that you're talking about, where they come out and they bow and they do all that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I remember having to learn that. So nerve wracking. But I still remember it now. Like, I'm not going to talk you through it all, but I'll give you a basic. So you come in the ring, and you'd step in the middle. You'd step to the middle of the ring, and you touch gloves with your opponent, and then you both step back to your corners. Then you turn around to your corner, you pay your respects to your own coach and that, you bow. And then you go around to the other corner, the neutral one, you bow to that one for the crowd. Then you get to their corner, and then you bow to their coaches. And then you do this thing where it's like you're blocking leg kicks as you're walking backwards. Like, you do that, you get to the middle of the ring, and then you choose whatever weapon you want. So my go-to was, funnily enough, was a bow and arrow like Pereira, or I invented a new one where I'd smack them over the head with a spade and bury them. So like, people like that one, so I kept doing that. So you do that, and then they'll do it to you. Like, you'd swap and stand in your corner, and they'll do it to you, like whatever weapon. And then like, you have this headgear on and all that, and all this traditional stuff. You take all that off, and then you fight. But mate, I used to be more nervous about doing that. Fight, yeah. Like, that's why I still remember it all. Like, I can't remember like sequences I did in fights. Like, oh yeah, I remember I ducked this way and threw this. I don't remember stuff like that, but I remember that. Like, it's so nerve-wracking. But yeah, the music as well. Like, as you're fighting, it's just constant like tambourines and trumpets just going. Doo-doo! Yeah. This is how I used to. Yeah, so that's exactly how I used to dress.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. It's like a whole, and it is what, just to respect your opponent, or respect the past, or tradition, or
tradition. Yeah, it's just they said that this tradition is like fucking thousands of years old. Like, people have been doing this for thousands of years, and it's to show respect as well, isn't it? Like, you're showing the whole crowd respect. You're showing every coach respect. You know.
And then even as a kid, you had to do this.
Yeah, like only for title fights.
Oh, okay.
Or if you fought a Thai, like, because basically when you were getting ready for like title level, they'd bring the Thai over. Like, there'd always be Thai kids training in England, like, and that was always like, right, if you beat a Thai kid, then you go for titles and stuff like that. Because like, these Thai kids, yeah, when I was like at 14 fights, that kid the same age was at like 300, you know what I mean? Like, fighting like multiple times a week and shit. So yeah, it's just different levels with the Thais.
Yeah, that's dedication, man. That's wild.
Yeah.
To think like little kids would be fighting that many times.
Probably exaggerating with 300. But,
right, no, I got you, but
you know, it's like, yeah, compared to what I was, it might as well have been 300. Like, just, yeah, and like, you could feel it when you fought it. You'd hit them with stuff, and you'd think, yeah, that would usually like make the guy step back a bit and give me a bit of respect. But you just smack them and they'll just be like,
because they've seen it before,
like,
right?
They'll be happy about it. They'll be like, oh, good, come on. Like, oh, but I was a bit like Max Holloway, where I used to like that. I used to like fighting in the pocket and stuff because I was small. So like when I'd hit him and then they'd start doing this, I'd be like, all right, he's felt that. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just do it back now. Like, yeah, I had, I think, about 3 fights with Thai kids. They're tough, man. Like, I even fought a girl, man. Like, because my coach, she liked to humble you. So I was about 10, and she put me in with a girl who was like 16. Like, she was like a woman, you know, compared to me as a 10-year-old.
Yeah, she was an adult at that point.
Yeah, like, not to be crass, it's just my perspective of it as a kid.
Right.
And she was European champion at the time in amateurs, and my mate had the same thing happen to him like weeks before, where they put him in with a female that was bigger and older, and he got battered, and then he wanted to rematch her the week after it, and he did, and he got battered again. So I was like, oh fuck, right? I was so nervous, yeah. And I remember the fight, we did our little dance and all that, and then the fight starts, and I remember just taking one step back, and she threw a kick, and I caught her leg, and I kneed her in like a stomach area, and then I kind of pushed her towards the rope, and then I noticed then, I was like, yo, I'm so much stronger. Like, I didn't know that was a thing, you know what I mean? Like, but then I noticed in that moment, I was like, whoa, I've never been able to do this to someone. So I just remember I just got her on the ropes, and I just clinched her and just kneed her twice, and she just went down in a heap. And I broke a record 7 seconds for the quickest fight in my club at the time. And Lisa was like, that didn't go to plan. My coach was like, that didn't go to plan. And I was like, mate, I was terrified. I was like, as soon as I come out, I just hit her with my hardest stuff straight away. And she was like, yeah, I didn't really expect that. Like, because she expected the girl to like at least give me like good tough 3 rounds, you know, at minimum, not just like come in. And I always felt so sorry for this girl, because she was like 16, so that she was entering professional age where she could fight for money. She was a European champ, and she just got knocked out in 7 seconds by a 10-year-old boy. Like, mustn't have been good for her, that
would not sit well in the psyche, my guy. Like, you probably damaged her for life. Do you remember her name?
No, I kind of wish I did. Like, in those days, I didn't care what the names were or anything. It was just, am I fighting this weekend? Yeah. What weight is he? Is this weight? Okay. I didn't even ask, like, is he tall? Is he small? Because I just expected them all to be taller.
All of them to be bigger than you, huh?
Yeah, because sometimes I was always at the bottom weight, the lowest weight possible. But sometimes we couldn't find anyone, so I'd have to go a weight above. So, like, that's all I cared about, what weight's it at. Oh, okay. Because I wouldn't try and put the weight on. I'd just, like, take the hit in it and just try and fight them. And but they were always a bit tougher, you know what I mean? So that's why I'd ask about the weight.
Yeah, just to see how much effort you're going to have to put through.
Yeah. And it was good, because then when I'd fight at my own weight, it just, not that it was easy, but it just felt easier.
Easier, yeah, because the power was similar, the speed was similar. And stuff.
Yeah, it was more the speed, to be honest. Like, the power, like, it just stayed the same for me, relatively. It just felt the same. Like, they didn't feel like they had much more or less, but it was the speed. Like, in the weight above, I felt like I felt like Max Holloway against Justin Gaethje, whereas the weight below, and we might see this play out, it will look totally different. It'll be like him fighting Topuria, you know what I mean? Because I don't think Holloway's going to look half as good as he did against Gaethje as he did against Topuria, because of the speed. Like, not because I think he's bad or anything.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting segue. I mean, we do have a huge fight coming up this weekend, and
so many as well.
I'm pumped, man. Like, I'm so excited about it. It's at 2:00, so that's crazy.
I know. That's one. Like, I wish I was more into the streaming stuff a bit ago, because this could have been one where I could have just like live streamed or something.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that, but that's a whole other level of like I have to watch and then I have to talk and I have to, you know, like that's I don't know, that's probably more than my brain can handle, especially, you know, watching the fights because I'm obviously biased.
No, yeah, I'm similar, to be honest. I think about it all the time, because I look at MMA Guru. He's just reached 100 million views, and he broke down like how he got to here on Twitter. Excuse me, and he said his first year to get is it 4,000 watch hours? I think you have to get. He said that like took him a whole year of doing like long live streams and stuff like that. So I've been thinking it might be worth just doing the odd live just to get them hours up.
To be fair, that's why I stream this to the YouTube channel. Is like, I mean, I don't know if my channel is ever going to get back to that being monetized or whatever, but if it does, this is the only way. Like, that's the only way it's going to happen, is these people catching the live and streaming it or whatever. So
yeah, that's it. Got to try and figure out a way of I mean, that's why I've been trying to make my videos like half an hour long and stuff.
Yeah, right, I noticed.
Yeah. Well, I just think if I can retain people and like, so if people are expecting that, because there's certain channels I watch where I expect them to have like a 30-minute video, so I'm seeking that out, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't mind being that guy for other people, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to play my Xbox and put this 30-minute video on in the background kind of thing, you know what I mean? So yeah, that you will see my target is 20 minutes for most of my videos.
No, that's great, because like even if somebody watches for 10 minutes, that's 10 minutes, you know, like that's good.
It's a long
but yeah,
time.
I mean, it's something we could definitely think about doing. I mean, obviously I have to coordinate that with Alicia, because I know she likes to watch the fights with me, and
well, that would be nice.
Likes
to always watch.
Yell at Daniel Cormier's terrible commentary.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to see like her perspective of it. I don't know how big she is on MMA, but like my ex, I used to like watching it through her eyes, because she'd react to things that just, I'm not saying yours would be the same, like, but she'd react to things that just wasn't worth reacting to. And I'd be like, what are you seeing here?
No, Alicia really we watch the fights. We watch like almost every fight together. Yeah, we have a great time.
She kind of knows what she's looking at and that.
Yeah, and the weird thing, I'm gonna brag for a second, but she has this weird thing. Like once the first exchange kind of happens, she's like, "Oh, that person's gonna lose." Like she's really good at picking up body language, and like psychology. Like I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you, but she's like, "Oh, this person like is really low energy on their walkout, and then like hasn't looked up the whole time, so they're gonna lose really quick." And like it'll happen. I'm like, damn, like I didn't even, not something I picked up on.
Live betting, man. Like use it for your life.
Right? Like live betting. He said, use it.
I have thought about that.
She's thought about it. Yeah. No, but like it'll happen. Like I think it was like I can't remember what the last fight, but there was the Leon Edwards fight, for example. She's like, he doesn't have the energy that he had before, even coming out and whatnot. But yeah, she has this weird uncanny ability to do that. But so we'll see this upcoming
Pereira is good at doing that, of helping you see that in his opponents, like with his walk and all that. Because I do that, like with Roundtree. I was watching him, and I was thinking, this is going to decide whether I think this is going to be a quick one-round thing for Pereira, or it's going to be an actual fight. And I saw Roundtree, he looked confident, and I thought, yeah, this is going to be a fight. You know, like similar with Jamal Hill. Like I really want to know how that fight would have looked if all that weird stuff didn't happen with the knockout. You know what I mean? I
don't know. I think Jamal Hill is overrated in my opinion, but I think
flat-footed, isn't he? Like he's very flat-footed.
I don't know. I just, because he came from Dana White's Contender Series, I think that's kind of what elevated him. Yeah. As Dana had that pressure behind him to kind of push somebody that was on his, and I don't know. Like,
it's ironic because for a time they had two champions from there, and there's not one now, is there?
Not one now, yeah.
They didn't even Did any of them manage to defend against an actual?
I was going to say, hey, man.
Like Sean
O'Malley defended.
What's that?
I said O'Malley defended.
Yeah, layup. He got a layup. I think Hills was a layup as well. I think they thought Pereira, would be a layup for Hill because if he's a striker, and Hill is an MMA guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it didn't work out that way for him. And I couldn't be happier.
This is a stat card. Lerone Murphy has pulled out that I've heard, so I don't know if he's still.
Oh, you don't know if he's not. Me.
Yeah, it's from Manchester as well. I'm a bit upset about that.
Let's see what happened. Da-na.
I don't know if they're just like local rumours and it's not out yet, but I've heard he's pulled out.
Oh. Yeah, no, nothing on the dirt sheets. So.
Yeah, so Dan Ige might be looking for a last-minute opponent, which is ironic.
Yeah, right. Very ironic considering how last moment his last one was. Yeah.
Is it Dan Ige or Ige?
Yeah, Ige. Yeah, it says canceled here. That was back in February. This one, it still says it's on as of this morning. So.
Oh, okay, maybe I misread something, or I saw an old thing be like brought back up. But
maybe.
This is actually more stats than the Sphere card.
This is way better than the Sphere card. This is what I've been looking forward to, man.
If this still had that Cyril Gahn fight as well, and Volkov,
Gahn versus Volkov, that would have been Mm-hmm.
It still is, I think.
Yeah, I think you could argue that. Magomedov. I'm not sure who Petrosian is, but Magomedov is always a great fight. Like, he always looks really good.
Yeah, he's good, man. Like, I think he's Muay Thai style. He looks it from how he fights with his stance and that. And like, man, he's he's good with it. But I do see weakness in him as well.
Well, yeah, he only has one eye.
No, I just mean like, yeah, like every
can't see his own weakness.
Before every fight, like DC, like it's DC's like ways to win, like they show up on the graphics, and it's like DC's weakness, one eye, like what DC notices as his weaknesses,
right?
Yeah,
because that's the commentary level of DC.
Yeah, like it has to be that obvious.
But right. No soul, one eye, no soul.
Got no soul and one eye.
Oh, but yeah, do you want to get into some predictions, or have you thought about it, or?
Yeah, I mean, Magomedov. I think you go for Magomedov in that, don't you? Like when you look at the both records, 14-0 versus 9-3.
Yeah, go with the undefeated fighter from Russia.
If Ige and Lerone Murphy is still going on, I think that's a close fight, man. Like,
I don't know anything about Lerone Murphy.
What he is? He's very much like Leon Edwards.
Okay.
Like a point fighter, like strikes. He's just a smaller Leon, basically. Like,
he's favored to win too.
What was that?
So he's favored to win. So
yeah. At points decision, I reckon.
Undefeated.
He's had a mad life, He's been shot and that, like.
Yeah, I saw that. That's actually how I recognize him, because he did a piece about, hey, I can't remember exactly how it was titled, but I was shot in the face, but now I'm fighting a top UFC fighter or something like that.
Yeah, he's been like, he's had a life, man. Like. It is pretty hard. Like, Manchester is a place like that where like you slip into those kind of circles easy. So it's dead nice to see that he's actually been in them deep waters, managed to get out, and now he's like in the UFC. It's pretty amazing that.
So you say Murphy on that one?
Yeah, I'll go Murphy points decision.
Yeah, but I'll follow you because I don't know much about them, to be honest with you.
If
So
Ige wins, I think it'll be a knockout. Yeah, that's the two ways I look at that. Rakic and Ankalaev, man, that could be a good fight.
It could be a really good fight. I think it's an underrated fight because of Rakic. Everybody's so busy talking about Ankalaev. Rakic is really good. Like,
He is.
I mean, I know he lost to Yuri, but like Yuri's one of the top fighters in the division. So like,
Magomed could lose to Yuri, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah, it just depends on the day. But
yeah,
I think Rakic he's really good. But I'm gonna go Ankalaev here. I think Ankalaev is destined to fight for the belt, and I want to see him fight for the belt. So that's where my decision.
Yeah. I'm similar. Like, I think he deserves it, man. Like, he should have fought for the belt after the Blakovic fight, where it was a draw. Like, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Blakovic.
That
was so unfair that he got punished for drawing. Like,
I mean, so did Jan though. Jan got punished for the draw too. I mean, what has Jan done recently? So
that's it. I find it so weird that that's a punishment. Like, it's not their fault that they were so well matched. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think he's got a lot to prove. So I think he might come out firing in Ankalaev. So yeah, I'll go for Ankalaev as well.
Yeah. Co-main, Hamza and Robert Whittaker.
Oh, this is.
I'm looking forward to this so much, but I'm also scared for Whittaker.
Yeah, I think everyone's nervous, aren't they?
Hamza is just such a good wrestler.
Biggs. Yes, Biggs, big time. Not seen you in a while. Don't think anyone likes DC's commentary. Yeah, that's very true. And
that is 100% true.
Herb Vernon. 2 weeks until the election. Come on, man.
Come on, man. Hello, Herb. How you doing?
Wait, is it 2 weeks till the USA election?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, that's gone quick.
5th, man.
That has gone so quick.
Yeah, telling me.
God.
But yeah, welcome to the chat, guys. Appreciate you stopping by.
Chats are like buses. We spent an hour waiting for one, and then 2 come along at the same time.
Yeah, thanks for calling out, because I was over here looking at the site, and yeah, appreciate you guys stopping by. That's awesome.
Yeah, it caught my eye, and then I saw random Big. I was like, not seeing that. Well, I see him on Twitter all the time, but I was like, yes.
Yeah, I reached out and I said, hey man, we'd like to have you on the show. He's like, nah, not during the week. I work too much. I'm like, I hear you.
No, yeah, I get it.
So maybe if we do it on the weekend or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd definitely cater to big time, and so. Yeah, if you need it to be a weekend, I'll try and manage that. It'd just be nice for us all to catch up, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. 110%.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry to be like anyway.
Yeah, no worries.
But Chimaev and Whittaker, this one can be such a banger, can't it?
It could be.
Yeah.
But it also could be just Chimaev taking him down, and that's the end of it.
I just can't foresee that with Robert Whittaker. I just can't. Like,
I don't want to, but I can.
Yeah, I mean it's a big possibility, but like he's fought like Yoel Romero. He didn't really try taking him down, did he? And like he's fought some beastie guys that can take people down, and for some reason they've not tried taking him down. So
yeah, but I think Hamza is a completely different animal. Like all he wants to do is get you to the ground. Like that's literally it.
Nah, because if he thinks he can knock you out, like Jared Mershaw, he's gonna knock you. He's gonna hunt for that instead.
But Mershaw was he's like supreme level jiu-jitsu guy. So like you really don't.
Nah, like jiu-jitsu ain't doing nothing to Kamzat's style of wrestling. It isn't. It just isn't.
So what do you think? You think Whittaker's gonna take it?
I'm gonna go Whittaker, knockout, round 3.
I would love it. I would love it. The only thing I can say is I don't want Chimaev to win. I want Whittaker to win, and I think I think what's gonna happen is Whittaker's gonna get probably taken down in the first round, but Chimaev has shown that he gets super tired later on in the fight. Mm-hmm. So Bobby's going to start piecing him up. I think he's going to probably try to lay on top of him. And I think it's going to be a close decision. And I think, unfortunately, Hamza's going to win.
Yeah, I think similar, right? I think he's going to come out firing first round. He might get success in that first round. like getting him down, keeping him down, ragdolling him about.
Mm.
Whitaker has proven many times he's got that 5 rounds like stamina.
For sure.
Hamzat has not. He's proven like the total opposite, that he's a one pump dump kind of guy, you know what I mean? So part of me can see it in dominating the first round, in trying to dominate the second, but because he's a bit tired now, his timing's a little bit off. Whitaker's now finding his range, like on the feet. Khamzat now is getting into that Burns kind of style where it's like, right, we're having a fight. I'm just not going to really think about what I'm doing now. I'm just going to try and beat you. Because if you saw in Burns, he lost all his like tactics. He just was on the feet, banging it out. And I got a feeling if he gets tired enough, Robert can bring that out of Khamzat. And I don't think he beats Whitaker in that kind of fight.
I hope not. I'm going to say I really hope not.
Yeah.
And I think, once Chimaev gets tired, because I don't know if you've seen Chimaev recently, but he hasn't looked in the best shape.
Looking rough, isn't he? Yeah.
He's not. I never thought he was, the best athlete in the world anyway, but he looks out of his prime.
No, he does. That's the worrying thing with Khamzat is like, have we already seen the best Khamzat? Like, what's the best version of Khamzat? Like, that version that was fighting in the pandemic, basically. And like now, because of all the things that have happened to him since, like, it's just not. Yeah, even his body doesn't look.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't look like the best version.
No. I mean, this is that middleweight, so maybe he's just not cutting as much.
Right, and that could be it. But I think a lot of it, to be honest with you, is just how long he's been out. Like, he's been out and how many fights he's had to cancel
and the fact that he's got a fight over there, he can't fight in the US and stuff like that. It's probably not helping things, you know what I mean?
And he got a new training camp for this. I don't know if you knew that, but he's not with Till and them anymore. He went.
I think it's no coincidence that he starts hanging around with Till and then he starts looking like a rubbish fighter. You know, like, I'm not even hating on Till. It's just Till has so many bad habits, and then to try and introduce that to some Islamic guy.
Right.
Like, some guy who's lived a faithful Islamic. I'm guessing he's lived a faithful Islamic life. You know what I mean?
Right.
To then introduce him to a Scouser who's got no morals, like, it's not a good shout. I'm not even saying it because he's a Scouser, just an Englishman. Like an Englishman with no morals should not be around an Islamic man like Khamzat with corruption.
So yeah, I think. I mean, as much as I want Whitaker to win, I could see both scenarios. So I'll just say Chimaev, just because that seems like the most likely scenario to me.
My controversial one is that round 4, we get to round 4, and Chimaev quits on the stool. I don't think
he's just so tired.
Yeah, I don't think he's a quitter. But I can just see him getting to a point where he's literally he's having
like cardiac arrest or something.
Cardiac arrest, yeah. Like I can just foresee him feeling that on the stool after like 3 rounds. Like, it scares me seeing how quick he gets tired. So I just can't not see that. And Robert's like, I don't know why I keep calling him Robert. Like, it's very official. But Whitaker is very he's just good at everything. He's so well rounded, and I think if you have one weakness that's very glaring,
he's gonna exploit it
too much. Yeah, and I think I'm controversial with the next one as well.
Well, let's move right along. Topura versus Holloway.
Cannot wait for this as well, man.
Yeah, this is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Heart says Holloway, brain says Ilya.
Yeah, similar. My heart and my brain say the same person, if I'm honest, and they
Oh,
both
yeah.
say it. Yeah, I just think fighting Gaethje before fighting Ilya is a hindrance.
It's like going from the most untechnical fight to the most technical fight.
Exactly. It's like going from, like, again, I always seem to use this as an example, but it's like the old Ngannou in boxing thing. He went from an untechnical guy to a technical guy. He went from a slow, untechnical guy to a sharp, technical guy, and you saw the difference. You know what I mean? And I feel like that might not help Max. Like,
But if there's one thing I'll say though, Max has fought technical. He's fought.
oh yeah,
But, he has the experience.
Yeah.
He that's why. I mean, he could win. Like, he very well could win.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, do I think he'll knock Topuria out? No, but do I think he could win points? Absolutely.
In a way, I feel bad for Topuria, right? Because I feel like he's caught Max at a similar time to where he caught Volk, where Volk suffered his first ever knockout and then he puts him out. You know what I mean? So you don't really get that full credit for like beating Volk, because everyone's like, yeah, but he got knocked out 6 months before that.
Came back too fast. All the excuses. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be the same, right? I think he's going to knock Max out, and then everyone's going to go, yeah, but Gaethje's the one that took his chin, because Gaethje knocked him down, because he got his first ever knockdown against Gaethje, didn't he? It's first ever time he got knocked down officially. So I've got a feeling it's going to be like that again, where he's going to beat this guy, and then people are going to be like, yeah, but it's because the other guy that he fought, weakened him or whatever. And it probably is partly to do with that, passing the torch kind of thing. But I don't know, just for some reason, every time I look in my head, how does this fight go? Like, Max is technical from an MMA standpoint. Yeah. But he's not really from a boxing standpoint. Like, his chin's up in the air all the time and stuff like that. He's very, like, so watch back the Calvin Kattar fight. Mate, he got hit so much in that fight. It's just because he was landing so much, it kind of overshadowed how much he was getting. Yeah, and then you watch the Volk fights, he got hit so much in those fights too. And then Gaethje was managing to land on him. So now I'm thinking, Topuria is close to being a boxer with his skill level of how good he is at setting up shots and that. So that's what worries me, is like Max looks technical for an MMA.
Right.
But Topuria looks technical from like a boxing standpoint. So I just see that as different,
Yeah, I mean, of course, Max likes to brag that he's the best boxer in the division, but there are levels to this game, and Max isn't getting any younger, and he's been in some bangers, and Topuria hasn't. So, I mean, if anybody's going to take his chin, it's going to be Ilya. But I just hope, I don't know, I'm a big Max fan. I like Max a lot. I think the difference it's in speed is going to be for Topuria. I just think if Max can kind of coax Ilya into doing some silly stuff, then he could catch him and win,
So what do you think? So I think the opposite. I think the one who needs to coax anyone into like being silly is Topuria. Like, I think Topuria needs to get Max to want to fight like close up, because that suits him, I think. So Topuria wants that point down moment as soon as possible. So what is it you think that Max can lure Topuria into, like,
just being wild, losing his technicality?
Yeah, and like
if he's missing him and Max is feinting a lot and Ilya's just on the end of his jab and he can't quite get going, like, he might be a little more reckless, and then I think Max can kind of start tagging him. I mean, Max is the longer fighter. I think he has, he fights at range a little bit better, but I don't know. I just think, obviously, I think Ilya is a better technical striker right now, but I think Max just has more ways he could win.
Yeah. You know what, though? It could be deceiving as well. Like, we're sitting here, like, both of us are saying Topuria is the better striker and all this. But it might just be a bit of deception that though as well, because we're judging him off Volk, and we're judging him off like against guys like Emmett and Bryce Mitchell. So
Right.
it is a bit.
Maybe
of
it's
a
the level of
false alarm.
competition.
Yeah, and like maybe Volk had slowed down by then, so it wasn't the Volk that Holloway thought, you know. So maybe to play devil's advocate, maybe you know, like he isn't the better striker. We don't know, but hopefully we find out. But
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, if there's one thing we know, it's that Max isn't going to give up. He's going to keep coming. He's going to keep trying to be right in your face, and it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so hyped for this card.
Yeah.
Like,
one thing I'd like to see, which I think is possible, is I think Max can catch him with a jumping knee, like right up the middle. Yeah, I think if Max can get out the way of one of his hooks, and then like, because when he's hooking, his head's going to be coming this way. So if Max can like get out the way and then maneuver his
bring
knee
it up, yeah.
head there, like I can see that being, or even that spinning heel kick that he kept doing against Gaethje. Like I can see that working against Topuria, but
yeah, that one could be. That was a new wrinkle, man. That was a nice wrinkle that he threw in there. That little. He just saw one little weakness and just went for it over and again and just kept landing it. That anybody who's coming out wild over the top, they're gonna eat one and that's gonna hurt.
Exactly, and that's what he does. Topuria, like, maybe not as wild as Gaethje, but he likes to get his head down and throw. So I do see head kick, knee, heel, like spinning heel. Yeah, I can see that being available in the mid to late rounds. Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I'm just going with Topuria.
You're gonna go officially Topuria, but decision, knockout.
Yeah.
Oh, you think he's gonna knock out Max Holloway?
Yeah, I think like round 1 or 2 as well. I don't think it's going on long. But again, like everything I said previous leading up to this is like I can see so many ways of Max winning though as well at the same time. Like again, Max has proven that he can actually problem solve on the go.
Yep.
Whereas Ilya's shown that. I was about to say Ilya's not shown that, but Ilya has actually shown that himself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he got. I was going to say, what was that fight where he got rocked right in the first get-go, and then he had to shake it off and.
Try to think who that was against.
I don't remember, but
like that, wasn't it?
But I mean, he's a champion for a reason. I mean, obviously, I think personally he fought a wounded Volk. Like I really do think that. I think Islam took his soul.
Yeah.
And I think he's not ever going to be the same again. And he came back and he fought, and I don't know. It's just. I think he was more focused on Islam and not what was in front of him. But
I think Volk just thought Topuria was going to be just another featherweight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
He made all the featherweights look easy apart from Max. He made.
I say, with the exception of Max, three fights, 3 decisions, and like 8 judges said Max won. So
I know that. You know what? There was one of them Max fights where I thought Max won.
I think the first one I thought Max won.
I think it might have been the first for me as well, because I wasn't liking Volk.
No, I don't.
Champ. Yeah, so I think it was the first one, and then I think he proved himself in the second, and then I was like, oh, I like this.
And then he won the third one pretty convincingly.
Yeah,
but
the third one was.
The first 2 were super close. The first one I think Max won, and I don't think, I mean, you can have the opinion that Volk won, and judges did, but. Officially, my prediction is I do think Max will win a decision. I think I think he'll get him frustrated with those looping shots, and his jab is just he has a really nice jab, and he'll just keep hopefully break his nose and make him bleed and just beat him up over the course of 5 rounds.
Well, that's it. I think ironically Max has to be the matador in this fight, and Topuria has to be the bull. Like for both of them. I think like that should be both of their game plans. Topuria needs to be the aggressive bull that traps the guy up against the cage, and Max Holloway needs to be the guy with the little red cloth that makes him run through the cloth and walk onto his blade at the end. So it's ironic that that's his nickname because it is like well
The
suited
Matador,
to how the fight should play out.
how it
It's
might
just-
play out exactly.
Yeah, Max should be the Matador and Topuria should be the Bull. Have you ever seen that in Spain? Like videos
Yeah.
of that?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Like, there's a village where I lived in Mallorca that did that. And yeah, I didn't go to it, but I wanted to.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, I'm assuming they use the bull for like.
No, sorry, I'm talking about the Bull Run. I should have.
I thought you were talking about like the Matador.
Yeah, not in the arena. Like, so, sorry, yeah, I should have said. So also in Spain, they do bull runs.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, where they come down the streets and you have thousands of people lining the streets and whatnot.
Yeah,
wow.
I wanted to go, man. I really wanted to go because like the same reason why you said at first I don't want to see it. It's because I want to see the bull hurt some human. Like, you know,
geez, yeah, but
I don't want to see the bull hurt some Spanish guy. Like, that's the only reason I was going. I was like, I want to see the bull get revenge, man.
Right. All these people have been fucking with him.
Yeah, but yeah, it's mad, man. But that's I think I'm very biased towards Topuria as well because of his Spanish roots and like I'm not saying I'm Spanish, but you know, I like the Spanish people and I know.
You said what was your grandmother lived on the Canary Islands or something?
Yeah, my nan lived in Tenerife. My auntie lived in Mallorca. I lived out in Mallorca, stayed in Tenerife loads. So most English people are quite, you know, they go Spain a lot anyway. So it's not like I'm special in that aspect. But I actually lived in Mallorca when Spain won the World Cup, I think it was, or it was the Euros. It was one of the big trophies. And they had fiestas for like 2 weeks non-stop. And it's not even an exaggeration, yeah. Luckily, it was in the summer months, so like they could get away with it. But I know it would be the same if they had a UFC champion. Like, I know they'd have similar celebrations.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
And my second team is Real Madrid, which is, I don't know if you saw, but when he won the belt, he went to Real Madrid, and like they have like 100,000 at their ground, and he did a presentation in front of them all. So I actually want him to win, and then I want to watch Madrid at the weekend and see what they do.
See if they honor him or anything.
Yeah. So that's partly why I'm biased towards him as well. Because
I gotcha. No, I mean it's going to be fun. I'm definitely going to be watching it and looking forward to seeing who wins.
And if he wins, there'll be two Georgians that are champs. So
and two different style Georgians.
What's that?
I said two very different style Georgian champions.
I know, yeah, you couldn't get any different, could you really? And what I was about to say is, would that make them the most currently successful country in MMA? Would they be the only ones to have two champs? No, Brazil probably have two champs right now, Alex and probably one of the girls. But yeah, I reckon Georgia might be the most, if they win, might be the most successful country in MMA.
That's interesting.
I don't know. UFC champs.
Yeah, I was looking up the same thing.
I don't want all time. I just want current.
Yeah. So we got American, Brazilian, South African. Bilal is American, right?
Yeah, I'd consider. I don't know. He calls himself Palestinian, but he's American, isn't he?
Yeah. Islam is from Dagestan. Then you have Ilya, Narab, Pantoja is Brazilian.
Yeah, so Brazil and Russia, right, I've got two with Shevchenko and Islam. So yeah, Georgia could be up there, like with Brazil and Russia. And like when you look at the size difference, like Brazil's huge, Russia's huge. And then you look at little old Georgia, just stuck with them. So I remember saying that about the UK when we had, did we have three at one point? I think we had Leon, we had Thomas Interim, I'm trying to think. For some reason, I got 3 in my head, but I don't think there was. And I remember thinking that at that time,
Yeah,
I was like, that's pretty crazy that England, such a small nation, has 2 of the champions. Like, I just remember thinking that's such a mad thing.
Yeah, that is. Especially considering like the landscape right now, where like wrestling is so heavy. Like, like thinking back to that time when, just 2 years ago we had British champion.
I know, yeah, like back in the good days.
Bisping.
Yeah,
He was the first one, right? He was your first Bisping?
Yeah. Bisping was the well, a little brag. Every champion from England has been Northern.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Leon's from Birmingham, which is considered Midlands, so that's like Northern. Bisping, obviously Manchester, Aspinall, Manchester. So yeah, all of them have been Northern as well. So take that, you Southern fairies. They call us Northern monkeys, and we call them Southern fairies. So like, it's nice that we're living up to each other's names. They're being fairies and not able to win championships, and we're being tough monkeys.
No, is there any prospects that are from the South?
I think Thingy Wood and Nathaniel Wood was, but I think he was doing good because he has the Wood genetics, like this, because my surname's Wood as well. So I think he has them tough Northern Wood genetics that are like overriding his southernness. So I don't know if he counts. Because like, he's got my genetics.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he's got more genetics. I'm guessing we're of the same Wood branch.
Right.
Yeah. But no, yeah, he's the only one that I can think of.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm trying to think who's the next British.
Yeah, like Brillan that I was telling you about. He's from Manchester. Dakota's from Manchester. Paddy and Molly, Liverpool, which is north.
Still north, yeah.
Northwest.
So there's like no London champions. There's no.
Now the closest one was Lee Murray. Do you ever remember that guy?
Lee Murray?
Oh mate, you don't know of Lee Murray? He did the most successful armed robbery in history, and he's currently in Morocco as a prisoner, as a political prisoner right now. He fought Tito Ortiz on the streets and beat him. And he's only like a middleweight, and this is prime Tito Ortiz. Like, he beat him outside a nightclub in London.
No.
Bro, you need to look into Lee Murray. I need a wee, so I'll be back in 1 second. It's got me excited.
Yeah, 10 years in prison in June 2000. Mastermind secures in Kent, England, where 53 million pounds of cash bank notes were stolen. It was the largest known cash robbery in the world during peacetime. Held in prison in Tafelt, Morocco. Incarcerated, fathered a child from prison. Was trained to fight in prison and still planning some UFC comeback with the hope of securing a pardon from the King of Morocco. This is very interesting stuff.
Yeah, he was the only tough Southerner. He's the only tough Southerner.
I was just looking, 53 million pounds he stole. In 2018, he was looking for a UFC comeback. He was training to fight in prison.
Yeah, he lost to Silva. Him losing to Silva is what got the UFC to sign Silva. That's what made him realize Silva was a good guy.
Anderson Silva, yeah. Oh, he fought Rivera.
Yeah, he was a top guy. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I've never heard anything about him before.
You know what? When you have
UFC
time,
fight.
Look up the story. I think Chuck Liddell tells the story because he was with him. Of Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz being out in London, yeah, and they're massive, yeah. Lee Murray was just a little middleweight, yeah. And they're out all in London. And Tito chats shit to Lee Murray. And Lee Murray's like, don't, because I'll knock you out. And Tito's like, go on then. Lee Murray knocks him clean out. and they're in the middle of London, innit? So like, you don't want to get into a fight with a Londoner in London, especially if you're from like America. If you're not from England, because like your boys are gonna need a flight to come over. You know what I mean? So like, then they're getting surrounded by Lee Murray's boys in London and all this. It's a mad story. Like,
what was that? You would say like
this is
2010s?
like, yeah, when Tito was like the champ, because that was the whole story. Tito was the UFC champ, and Lee Murray was like, I battered him on the streets. Like, it made Tito look stupid because he got beat by this little English guy.
That's interesting. No, never heard that one. I'll look into it and report back.
Like folklore in England, obviously. Like, yeah, it was big news. And then he did his little robbery and that, and then it all fucked up.
I mean, he almost got away with that. $53 million. That's crazy.
Imagine 53 mil. Jesus.
I mean, he would have to fight, 53 times as Alex Pereira to get that money.
Yeah. Oh, he could just have focused a bit more on boxing.
Made it one fight.
Boxing, mate. No, I know, but I think he was one of them where I think he was always destined to do something like that anyway. I think he was a mad guy anyway, you know what I mean?
Just a bad person in general, yeah.
But yeah, I think it come from like a mad background. Like, like Oliver Twist, basically, all them street kids. He was one of them, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just from a mad background. Probably got battered by his dad and shit like that. I don't want to put that out there, but he probably did.
He probably did. I don't know for sure, but probably.
We all do. Like, yeah, all those English people that get into fighters, we all get battered by our dads.
All right. So what are you working on this week? Do you have anything planned?
Yeah. What was I working on?
Yeah, I know you said that you were working on something and kind of in reverse, doing the clips before the sketch. Is that something?
Oh yeah, that's the comedy one. Yeah. So that's one I've been talking about for the past few podcasts because I keep changing what I want to do with it. But so yeah, that one's like about Tom Segura. I don't mind saying what it's about or who it's about.
Right.
And, yeah, I wanted it to be. At first, I wanted it to be funny, but now it's more just like a hit piece.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't enjoying that, but then I thought, but that's what he does. He sits on his podcast, like judging people on TikTok. You know, like people that like don't quite fit into society, like autistic people. And I don't know if you've been on TikTok, but TikTok is rife for bullying. Like, it's really bad for bullying. Like,
no, I don't have TikTok or anything like that, but I can imagine.
Yeah, so like on YouTube, it gets monitored a bit better in it. Whereas on TikTok, someone who could be like autistic and, just like showing the daily routine of the life. And like people like Tom Segura will laugh because they're a bit different. Like the way how he talks a bit different. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So that a lot. And so mine's shaping up a bit like one of his TikTok videos where he's just like breaking down someone's character and picking on him a bit. But now I'm like, you know what, I don't mind it being a hit piece because like that's what he does anyway. And he can interpret it as comedy because that's what he says he's doing when he's doing it. So if he wants to try and get it took down as a hit piece, then he can't by his own rules because that's what he does.
He's just doing what he's doing.
Yeah. And like, I just hate comedy, man. But one good thing is, through this, because I've had to research comedy, because I'm doing another piece on just comedy in general, and how it's all aligned with politics now. Like, that's the gist of it. So I've tried finding modern examples of people that are funny, like whose content isn't isn't trying to stick to one side. So one guy I did find was a guy called Sam Campbell. He's Australian, and he's just funny, man. So I'm glad I discovered him through this because I wouldn't have watched the programs that he was on and stuff like that. So yeah, that's one positive that's come out of this. I found another comedian that I found really funny. He's just really, he's just silly and really whimsical with everything he does. Like he has this one rant where he's like, do you guys like underdogs? And the whole crowd obviously is like, yeah. And he's like, I hate underdogs. They're always getting in the way of the double champs and the true winners. And like, it just, it's just funny and weird.
Right.
It was so refreshing. I literally just went and watched all of his content on YouTube and everything I could find of him, because I was just like, this is so nice to see someone just being funny for the sake of being funny and not trying to fit in with the left or the right or not trying to cater to that.
Right, not trying to push it.
Yeah. And like, he's just like, yeah, like, I don't know if the brat stoles is like an Australian and English thing, if you guys have brat stoles in America. Like, he had a whole rant about brat stoles where he was like, they're not brats, they're demure women. They look like very respectful young ladies. In fact, they should be called very nice close friends. And like, you know what I mean? It's just like, he just rants over weird shit, and it's just so inconsequential to everyone's life that it's just funny.
Well, that's good. That's easier to watch anyway. So
yeah, so it was nice because all what I kept finding was like your Tom Segura's, your Andrew Schultz, like even Jimmy Carr's leaning into that, Ricky Gervais, like, and it's just boring, isn't it, when they're all just sound the same, and like they're all like, oh, I'm so hardcore that TV won't accept me. It's like, no. You're not too hardcore for TV like you used to be. Like that's what annoys me with Jimmy Carr. Like, Jimmy Carr used to be an actual savage. Like the shit he said on TV, like over the years. Like, one of my favorite ever jokes is a Jimmy Carr joke because it's just like filthy. It was like he said, everyone does charity for Africans with AIDS, but no one cares about all the flies that catch AIDS off them. And it's just a horrible, filthy joke, innit? Well, it's just like,
right.
It's just horrible, filthy, and like, that was an old Jimmy Carr joke, and he wouldn't even make a joke as bad as that today.
Right.
But he would still claim that he's counselable.
He's still that same person, right?
Yeah. And it's like, nah, you're not. So, yeah, that's while I was doing all that, I noticed a lot of shit about Tom Segura, especially, and like kind of how he's evolved. Like, he's gone from being one thing to another. So that's why then I started doing a Tom Segura one as well, because yeah, like I think it's going to be focused on his contradictions, because like there's so many contradictions that he does that are just like, that could just be a great example. Yeah, I can't really fully explain what I'm trying to say, but
no, I mean, we'll see it when we see it. I don't want you to give away everything, but yeah, no, that's cool. So I mean, kind of two in the same vein, but coming at it from two different angles on the videos.
Yeah, there's a couple, like I'm doing an Anthony Joshua one, and I'm also there's a MMA one that I'm playing with the idea of it that I want to do. But so I'm trying to do as many combat sport ones as well as doing these comedy kind of ones at the same time, because I want to keep that vibe going. Like, I want people to, like, at least once a week have something combat sports related on my channel to watch, if they watch this or whatever, you know what I mean, to keep that kind of cycle going.
Sure.
So, I want to do an Anthony Joshua one. I'm just, because I'm such a big fan of Joshua, I'm just really like, cautious how to do it, because I don't want to look like I'm just trying to praise the guy. I want to be non-biased, but it's pretty hard because I love the guy so much, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that one's taken a bit of a while as well. Like, the problem is I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist, but I'm just worried about how people perceive it. So I'm really like, I'm always worried about, if I do it this way, I don't want it to perceive this way. Mm-hmm. So I'm always worried about how it might be perceived.
Well, I mean, I look forward to it whenever they're released, obviously.
What about you? Like, are you not thinking of doing anything more long form or?
I'm not a long form person, man. This podcast is as long as I can do.
Is your longest?
Yeah.
noticed that back in the day, like when you used to do gaming stuff, it was always like a quick little clip, you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah, I think that's
you know
kind of
what
more of what I like, you know, like.
Yeah. Because I think you're very analytical, and obviously I don't know if it's a history major, whatever you call, like you studied history, so you know, I'm guessing you've got a degree in that. So I just think you would have so many skills to be able to do it.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of whether or not the skills are there. I think it's the
time.
Well, I wouldn't even say time. It's like I feel like I like to create a conversation more than me telling you something, if that makes sense.
No, I get that. Yeah, to try and because mine's very like, this is what I think. Here's half an hour of me telling you why I think this thing. You know what I mean? Whereas yours.
No, I mean I think there's room for both of them though. I don't think any one way is right. I just for me personally and the way I set up myself is, and maybe it's wrong, I don't know, but I just feel like shorter attention grabbing kind of things are better for me.
Yeah, like with me personally, I've just always wanted to be a film, like a creator, like whether it's music or films or cartoons or like even when I was a kid, I used to do this radio show, right? I used to go to the local youth club, and like my mate's nan ran the youth club, so she used to let us do it. And we'd take this karaoke thing and we'll just host like a radio show and just like play tunes and then just MC. Like not rap, but like today it's Michael Jackson, Thriller, you know, and like just basically do that, and like the whole club will be like listening to that radio, and like that's always been me. Like I've always wanted to be that guy that's like got a story to tell, or you know, like my nieces, I want them when they're older, I want them to be like, if I ever go, I want them to be like, I love my uncle because he always would tell me like good stories and you know, and just chat a lot of shit basically. But yeah,
that's cool. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've always wanted to do something creatively, but I think it's more. I don't know. I feel like whenever this channel was the original YouTube channel was started, it was more like me and my brother just kind of fucking around and having fun in our own unique, you know, stupid comedy way. And I feel like a lot of that was driven by his like kind of quirks and his personality and stuff like that. So I always felt like, you know, despite I run the channel and I do all the promotion and all that kind of stuff, that it was more like his ideas and more of his thing. I don't even know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but I was like always the second partner in that. And I feel like I wasn't the creative one when it came to that. I just kind of like wanted to carry it on after everything. So
well, that's like the perfect mix, though, isn't it? It's like because I've always been the creative one, and then you always need that person who's more like good at the behind the scenes stuff, you know. He's more like a producer, I suppose, is the way of looking at it. So
promoter, producer kind of a thing, yeah.
But you know what? You know, if you type in Sidewalk Clothes on YouTube, you know, the first thing that comes up is that skit with you and your brother. Like, you're showing it me years ago. Because I remember you were telling me, like, why you started YouTube, and then you showed me this one skit that you did. And at any time I type in Sidewalk Clothes, because like if I'm looking for the podcast to rewatch or something, you know, or if you've been like, you know, I've got this video and you sent it in my WhatsApp, I'll just type in your name on YouTube, find it that way. And it's always that video of you and your brother that pops up first.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I think like that would be a nice thing for you, knowing that every time someone types it up, it's that one. It is for me anyway. That's what pops up for me first every time I type in your name.
No, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, he would like that. That's cool. Anyway,
be like, no matter what you do, it'll always be our video that pops up first.
Yeah, that's funny. No, that's great. That's cool. Anyway, do you think you'll have anything uploaded this week, or do you think that's going to be a multi-week project? Or
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm going to try and get something out this week because I've not done much. But I've got a feeling the UFC might create a lot of talking points.
Yeah.
So I've got a feeling there might be a few of those quick little video ones where I'm just talking into my phone essentially. Because like I can imagine like there'll be like judges or referees or commentary again, like maybe like guessing they'll wheel out Rogan for this, so night of me just getting annoyed all night.
Yeah, well, let me know. Obviously, we'll promote it all we can, and look forward to it, man.
I know. You know what? Right, they need to mute it. Like they put up the fights on YouTube where you can hear everything but the commentary.
Yeah,
it's
great.
So good because it's like you can hear the full arena. Like so, it's not like Apex or like Tough where you can hear like the corners shouting. Like you can hear them shouting, but there's a massive crowd behind them. You know what I mean? So it's not like that's all you're hearing, and it's so much cooler because you can hear every thud, and like you can actually hear if they land or not. So there'll be shots where I know full well Joe Rogan's gone, he's hit him with a hook, and like you can't even hear it make any connection. You know what I mean? So yeah. They need to do that. That's what they need to do. And then that way we can actually judge fights better because we can actually hear them being hit and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, I agree.
One thing as well, actually, before you go.
Sure.
What do you think Dana White means by changing how they're going to rank the pound for pound list?
I don't know. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like,
because the current.
I think the way. I think what he's just going to do is he's just going to move John Jones from 3 to 1.
Yeah. But so he's saying he's got this new system, right? But the current system is the media choose the pound for pound. So what's this new system? Is it new people?
Maybe it's going by like a points ranking system, like how many wins they've had as champion, knockouts, submissions, stuff like it could be anything like that.
Actually. That reminds me, just 1 second. You've just actually sent a light bulb off in my head here. I watched this video recently on YouTube, and this guy, he's got a ranking thing that they use in chess to rank like who's the best chess player.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not subjective, so you can actually like figure it out. Let me just find this name. And anyway, this one guy, he used the same thing to rank MMA fighters, and John Jones was the GOAT. And I thought at the time, Dana White's going to use this.
Yep,
and
that's funny.
Now you just said that, I just thought it's going to be this system because he would have saw the same videos on YouTube, and he's like, oh, this one rates Jones as the GOAT, so this has to be it.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it? I wish I could find it and tell you because it's like an abbreviation. It's like ELFO or something. Rating system. ELO engine it's called. I think it's ELO. And that's what they're using.
A large data set with every result that I need. So I guess it.
Oh, yeah. And do you know what the funniest thing was, right? So he ranked every MMA fighter in the world. And Izzy and Pereira were only separated by 0.1 of a percent.
Oh, wow.
They're next to each other, bro. And Pereira's separated by Izzy by 0.1 because Izzy just lost to Duplessis. And, like, that was his take. He said, that's what's crazy about this, yeah. He said, I've done all this. There's no way I could have manipulated this. And he said, still, even in this system where it's totally logical and mathematical, Israel Adesanya and Pereira are right next to each other. Like, their next fights will determine, like, so if Izzy wins and Pereira loses, Izzy might be, like, 0.1 above Pereira. You know what I mean? So they're just always having this thing, like, even when they don't know it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's interesting.
Yeah. They're kind of like the Messi and Ronaldo of
MMA.
Yeah, because even if they don't want the rivalry, it just happens. Yeah, it just happens. Like, and it's,
can't help the comparison.
But yeah, if you ever want to see it, it's called ELO.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Frank. So that might be it. It might be the ELO thing.
And yeah, I can definitely see that happening.
I won't mind that because at least there's logic to it. At least
it's not biased.
Yeah, and like, you know, if John Jones, I don't think mathematically John Jones can be pound for pound right now. You know, if you take in all these equations, so yeah, like it won't help John Jones in that. It'll help him in the GOAT debate because that doesn't. The only problem I have with that is like there's no way of like
you can't qualify it.
Yeah, there's no way of qualifying like this guy. Like Kamzat looked bad in this fight, but he had COVID. You know what I mean? Like there's loads of little asterisks that like just can't be like added to that.
Right. No, that's cool. I like the mathematical approach because it does take the human element out of it. But I think it does like that could be lost in the math. Like if somebody's injured or sick or took the fight on short notice, like do they get more points for that or how does that work?
That's it. Or do you like freeze them? So if someone gets injured, you kind of just freeze them where they are so nothing affects their position kind of thing.
Mm.
I don't know. It'll be fun though. Like it does need shaking up, but I hope it's not just being shook up just for John Jones to be at number one, you know.
Right.
Or for just the UFC have more control over who's the top 10 pound for pound so they can then control who's in title fights and all stuff. Which, let's be honest, that probably is the case. Like,
yeah, that's probably it. Yep.
Yeah. Because one thing I hate is any media source that shows any resistance to the UFC, they don't exist anymore. Like in the UFC spaces, and I hate that. Like I do. Like it's one reason why I really like Ariel Helwani because like you know he went against all that stuff for a while and would ask proper questions and all that.
Mm.
Like it's again every time I look at the MMA, not MMA, sorry, but more UFC, everything about it is corrupt, man. Like it's so corrupt, everything about it.
Yeah, I mean, once you get so big, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So
yeah, it's just like it'd always be like they have the goal to go on about boxing. It's like, bro,
yep,
we're okay.
You're doing the same thing. Yeah.
You don't see us attacking yous. You know what I mean?
You know, I would say, as you know, about to end this podcast, there's something you haven't said this whole time, and I'm surprised that hasn't come up now.
Do you know what though? There's not been an excuse because it's such boring. But do you know what? Actually, there has. Have you heard the beef that he's been in?
Oh no.
With MMA Guru.
No, I don't know anything about it.
All right, MMA Guru. I'll try and keep this short. MMA Guru is really good at impressions, but he's also really offensive. So how he makes most of his money is someone will donate like £2 and say do an impression of this scenario. Yeah, it's usually scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if someone asked him to do this or if he just did it off his own back, but he did an impression of Michael Chandler and his sons, where his sons were like African American in this thing, and it was distasteful. Chandler's then called him inhuman and like, I can't believe we have to share a race with this non-human piece of crap and all that. So then Guru's come back at him with a picture of him with John Jones and like pictures of him tweeting about how great John Jones is and all this. And he's like, oh, so I'm not human, but John Jones, he is. Like, explain, you know what I mean? It's straw man. Yeah.
Right.
One's right or wrong. Very straw man. But what I find funny about this is, about a week ago, he had beef with Nina Drama. I don't know if you know her. Like, she's like a UFC media puppet.
Mm.
He had beef with her. Don't know what it was over, but they were beefing on Twitter. MMA Guru and her. That got loads of fighters involved. And I can tell Michael Chandler just wanted to get involved with that shit. Like, I just know, like, I'm not saying that he wasn't offended at the thing, right? But
He just wanted the media. And the
I
attention.
reckon if he saw that clip 3 weeks ago before the Nina drama stuff, he would have just been like, nah, not worth my time. You know, I'm just going to pull myself up from my bootstraps and ignore it, you know. I've got to do a bootstrap like thing every time. But yeah, and like that's what it I kind of just felt like, you know, when you see like that kid that everyone's bullying, and then you just get that one guy who just finds a reason to bully him. Like, he just finds an excuse, and he's like, right, now I've got my chance to bully him. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't like Chandler. But yeah, that's my fuck Michael Chandler moment.
Fuck Michael Chandler, yeah.
I just wanted to find a reason.
Yeah, well, there's always a reason.
You know what, though? Now, that sounds really bad, though. Why? That's not my reason for fuck Michael Chandler, because you should be offended if someone's taking a piss out of your kids. Like, I'm with Chandler on this, but at the same time, fuck Michael Chandler.
All right, man. Well, it was good talking to you again, and I'm glad we got that in there before we left.
Yeah, sorry if I ranted too much.
Oh, they're fine.
Yeah,
All
I'll
right,
see you
man.
in a bit, man. Have a good one.
See ya.